Spread your love and hear what I'm saying now. Spread your love and hear what I'm saying now. Spread your love
South Africa, good morning South Africa. I hope ni right na nhlelo khone makhaya. Le gore bilane gompieno le bile la tsoka ka lone le tlhakore le le siameng. Khona now we welcome you to another amazing day with us khona la at the Vooka Breakfast Show with the team, and we'll be giving you so many different things that you could learn about, right? And of course, obviously, as you all may know, but I do not mind reintroducing myself every day. I go by the name of Afriberry, also known as Miss Berry Blaze, but to the dark of the berry, the sweeter than Tuntuni. I hope you're also feeling fantastic in this very chilly but also sunny weather. Ungakhohlwa ukuthi ufake ijacket nyana, just a little camouflage nyana, just to feel a bit warm out there, because as much as it is sunny, it's also a bit windy. But obviously I'm not traveling by myself today. Nginayo umweketi, max for maximum temperature. How are you doing, sir?
Of course, Afriberry, you know, man, it is your epic morning show, the Vooka Breakfast Show, and my name is Mweketi Maimane, and absolutely, I am feeling well. I am feeling okay, because hashtag this is Wednesday, and we are winning. Wednesdays are always for winning. That's why we are here, and we're going to be unpacking a lot of content that we have for you. So what you need to do is just to stay tuned, man. And speaking about epic morning, yes, Afriberry, we are the best team right here around in Soweto, the Vooka Breakfast Show. We're doing the things each and every day on your week basis. From 7 a.m. up until 10 a.m., we will be here with you, delivering and giving you some of the best content that speaks to the volume and the masses of South African citizens, man. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic, guys, and I hope you are getting hashtag winning. And another hashtag that you can also make trend on your social medias is hashtags WCW, Women Crush Wednesday, and of course the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show. So those are the three hashtags that you can make trend for today. Tell us what makes you feel like you're winning, what motivates you in the morning to keep and say, you know what, as much as life is very tough at this moment, but I keep on winning. Don't forget to also let us know who's that woman that's making a huge impact in your life and driving all the positivity to come to you right there. What about you, Modo?
Man, I am feeling good, man. When it comes to WCW, man, it's something that I want people to, just stay tuned with me. Bear with me as I'm going to give it out. Last week, Wednesday, I had mine, and a lot of people were shocked, especially, one of our viewers, Hector. Hector was so surprised and said, you know what, give Mo what he wants, man. Give Mo the date with the Women Crush Wednesday of his. But yeah, a lot is what we have, and I just can't wait to be with you, whoever is watching and listening right now. Because you know what, man, Vooka Breakfast Show, it is the best morning that gives you an epic, dose of the day that you need so that you can get started. Obviously, when we speak about epic mornings, we always start the day in a very good way of explaining what is happening behind my background, in which we call it the picture of the day. And it's obvious that you can see it's Saibono Discovery Center. So, of course, Saibono deals so much with maths, science, technology, and everything that has to do with discovering. It's also known as pushing the STEM. And they have, what we call a collaboration with the basic, Department of Basic Education. But now, let me just go through what we have on Saibono, background information that you need to know so that you can equip yourself on whenever you're about to go there, you will know the information that you need. So Saibono Discovery Center, Southern Africa's largest science center, and as I've said, affiliated to the Department of Basic Education, right? So they support maths, science, technology, and education, also known as STEM program. And to help build South Africa's science, engineering, and technology capacity, Saibono is responsible for implementing the Gauteng Mathematics, Science, Technology, Education Strategy. Saibono started as a partnership project of the Gauteng Department of Education and various private sector partners, located in the historic Electric Workshop in the cultural precinct of Newtown, Johannesburg. They annually receive hundreds of thousands of visitors. So, the Saibono is also supported by various scientific and engineering bodies in industry, by the diplomatic community in South Africa. I hope that you guys got that information so that you can equip yourself. For people who are science lovers, you love technology, you love maths, that is the place for you to visit. But before I go anywhere, it's a conversation that I and you need to have. But before, of course, I have Afriberry that side, I just need to ask him the important question, which is, have you ever been to Saibono?
If I need to ask her, not him. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
I have unfortunately never been to Saibono. I feel like it's a bit of a disadvantage because I did economics in school and not physical science or anything like that. And it's always been directed to people who did physical maths, physical science and pure maths. But I feel like when it comes to learning should not be only limited towards what you chose to study in high school. But for me, it's like literally one of the places that I actually plan on going to. Even right now, I still want to learn about gravitons, how neons work, how to create something very platonic that's out of this world. Because I feel like learning is basically for everybody. As long as you're willing to grasp the knowledge, then you should be able to learn it. What about you? Have you been there, Mo?
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I have explored Saibono. It takes me back to those, time where we were young, especially in primary school. because we went to Saibono while we were so young. It is very important to instill the knowledge and the education while we're still young, because they've always told us that whenever you're young, your mind is like a sponge. You need to absorb as much as you can and just learn about different adversities that are out there. So yes, I have been, and one of the memorable moments that I had at Saibono, it was when as a group of learners, we were just sitting down there and we were exploring this new BMW that has been a latest edition. So while it was there, they asked us the most important question, and they said, what makes the car move? And I was the first one to raise my hand and said to the guy who asked the question, an engine. Then the answer was correct, and I was the first person to be given an opportunity to go there and ride on the driver's seat. So it was a very beautiful experience, and we explored a lot. We explored a lot on what science, math, technology have to offer. And thanks to Saibono, now we understand what technological advances mean and how we can apply them from day to day. And one of the interesting thing is Saibono is now most popular leisure and educational destination in Gauteng. It's a non-profit company funded by its principal, the Gauteng Department of Education. It also benefits from grants, donation from donors in the broader public and private sector. So definitely I would advise you and encourage you to take your children to the Science Discovery Center right there in the precinct called Newtown in Johannesburg. But yeah, that is where we're going to end it right now. Tell me, what do you think, man, about the STEM? It's science, technology, economics, and also maths. I want to know from you there using the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show. It's about to get down. Let's unpack this. Let's get ready for this epic show. Right now, let me give it back to Afriberry so that she can tell us what we have on the show today.
So for today on the show, we have Know Your Rights. You know that we're very passionate about people knowing their rights, and of course the great responsibility that comes with the rights. And we also have entertainment news, where we're talking about the latest things that are happening on the socials in terms of the different celebrities we have. And after that, we'll also be having the Mind Basket, where we'll be interviewing Osvaldo, who you've seen a couple of weeks ago. We'll be discussing everything that has to do with mental health on the Mind Basket. And then after that, we'll also be having our second guest for the show, Theo the Baggy _Jackalas, who'll be coming through for Comedy Hour and letting us know what makes him laugh and why he sees the need to actually make us crack a few jokes. But right now, we'll be heading over to the weather report, and then after that, we're going over to Maketsi Maimane with their news and sports headlines.
All right, Mzansi, once again, a very good morning to you. And these are your top headlines for today. On the first headline, we have Home Affairs launches anti-corruption forum. South Africa's porous borders contribute to lawlessness and high levels of crime. Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber and CU head Andy Mutibi will launch the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum. This is an effort to clamp down on corruption in the sector. In a combat of fighting crime, police are encouraged to defend themselves. Police officers must deal decisively with the criminals. That's the word from National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola. He says police powers are protected by legislation. Since April last year, 21 officers have been killed in the line of duty. The commissioner says this is alarming and concerning and must be dealt with. On the last headline, jobs bloodbath fears as SA and US relation turns sour. The tension between South Africa and the United States are escalating, and the consequences could be devastating for the local job market. NUMSA President Andrew Chirwa says US President Donald Trump is working with white supremacists who are in cahoots with lobby group AfriForum. Chirwa says Trump and AfriForum are protecting white privilege at the expense of the poor and working class. On the last one, South African formal job sector sees marginal growth in the last quarter of 2024. Total employment increased by 0.1% in the fourth quarter of 2024. This increase was driven by trade, business, services, transport, and electricity industries. Meanwhile, community service, manufacturing, construction, and mining saw decreases in the fourth quarter. Total employment decreased on a year-to-year basis by 0.8% between December 2023 and December 2024. In a positive 10, gross earnings paid to employees saw a notable increase of 6.1% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, providing some relief for workers. That's all for your news headlines. Now heading to your sports, starting off with rugby news. Lions refuse to dwell on Cardiff defeat as URC playoff race heats up. The Lions flanker acknowledged the team's disappointing 2017 defeat but expressed confidence in their ability to recover in the upcoming weeks. They face Glasgow Warriors on Saturday and will conclude the URC regular season with challenging matches against defending champions Benetton, Connacht, Scarlets and Ospreys. A strong belief in their resilience will be crucial for a successful finish. On football news, ex-Spurs defender Vertonghen to retire at the end of the season. Jan Vertonghen, who is 37 years of age, has announced his retirement at the end of the season, concluding a 19-year career. Starting at Ajax, where he won 2 Eredivisie titles, he joined Tottenham in 2012, making over 300 appearances and reaching the 2019 Champions League final. After leaving Spurs, Vertonghen played for Benfica and joined Anderlecht in 2022 with 157 caps. He retired from international football after Euro 2024. He aims to end his career on a high note with Anderlecht. Australia, Saudi, and they keep up hopes alive with South Korea starter again. Australia defeated China 2-0, boosting their chances for automatic World Cup qualification in Group C, where they sit second with 13 points, 3 ahead of Saudi Arabia. Japan has already secured the top spot on qualification. Jackson Ivan and a goalkeeping error helped to seal Australia's victory, leaving China bottom but still able to qualify further. In Group B, South Korea remains top but was held 1-1 at home by Jordan after a similar result against Oman. Their missed wins delayed automatic qualification. The race for direct qualification remains tense. That's all for now. Stay tuned for more news and sports update throughout the show. Don't forget to share your thoughts on these headlines with us on social media using the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show. Now let's get you ready this morning with your weather update and your latest traffic update with Musi Mist.
with the Vooka team as time is spent
at the Vision Board and Pizza event out at Curiosity in Maboning.
aimed at promoting positivity, creativity that breeds longevity.
Enjoy tasks like silent reading,
Vision boarding, and live performances.
Vooka Breakfast Show brings you all things great and amazing with Sacred Sundays
In collaboration with Mwari Pizza for Vision Board and Pizza. Good morning, Mzansi, and this is your latest traffic update. A stationary vehicle in Centurion is blocking the N1 South ramp to N1 South at Brockfontein interchange, and the emergency lane on the N1 West is closed. A stationary vehicle is reported on the N1 southbound near the Brockfontein interchange, blocking the emergency lane. Expect delays on the N1 northbound due to ongoing road works near the John Foster Drive off-ramp. Another stationary vehicle is blocking the R21 northbound near the Pomona Road off-ramp, causing delays with the emergency lane being affected. That's all for now. Let's get back to your epic morning show and unpack some of what we've uncovered. Do stay tuned. Hey family.
Hi.
My name is Tisiga Mazbugo Shabalala.
My name is Moketi Maimane.
My name is Musi Miss.
My name is Ketua Mguni.
On the Vooka
Vooka Breakfast Show.
Every weekdays from 7 a.m.
to 10 a.m.
This is where we are going to have our topical discussion featuring various aspects from different fields.
We're going to take care of you and it's going to be amazing, man. Right now I'm on the set of the Vooka Breakfast Show, brought to you by the Blink-On Network.
Do not forget to subscribe.
That's Vooka Breakfast Show on Facebook and all other social media platforms.
Vooka.
See you there.
Well, yeah, shopping blossom memory. Yes.
Wow.
All right, my beautiful people. Bathi Mavuga amahle. It is a beautiful morning right there. As you can see, the preparations are happening, man. Yeah, that's the Vooka Breakfast Show. Obviously preparing to give you an epic morning show every weekdays. My time right now is 7:30, as I've told you, 30 minutes inside the stream. And obviously, man, we would like to apologize for some of the days when we are not live to be here with you. Just to unpack some of the things that we are going through and some of the things that we see through our social media platforms. But right now, all I want to say to you, Mzansi, is just get ready, and we're going to have a very, very good show. Epic morning, as we also have guests lined up for you to get you entertained. Remember, when we speak about Wednesdays, we talk about when laughter is your medicine. So get ready to laugh, get ready to be with us, as we're going to have our guest. Osvaldo is coming back, of course, as we spoke about finances. Now it's time to speak about the importance of mental health. We know that mental health, it is a very, very, very huge problem in this country. But yeah, we started off with the sport headlines, and I give you your news headlines. So what I want you to do is to stay tuned, because we're going to come back again with a recap of what we started with. It's a good morning right here, and I'm with my best team. You know, the team that always does the things to happen. Do you do the things to happen? Hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show is the hashtag to use right now on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. All you need to do is to share the live with your friends, your loved ones, so that we can all get informed, because this is the best morning show in Soweto. Located in the heart of Johannesburg, it is at Dobsonville. That is where we are live. Do make sure that you stay with us and you engage with us. Without further more to do, let me now introduce my best team. But I think they're still being prepared. You know, yeah, man, we've got a makeup team over here. So let them, do those touch-ups, man. Do those touch-ups. But yeah, we're good to go. A very good morning, guys. How are you doing this wonderful Wednesday morning?
Hey, good morning.
Yes.
I'm doing fantastic this Wednesday morning. It's a beautiful day to be out and a beautiful day to also listen to us and, of course, obviously watch us because we have so much things that we could actually discuss today. One other thing that I'm looking forward today towards the show is mental health. You know, I think there's like a whole lot of discrimination and misunderstanding and misinformation around the different types of mental health problems that are out there, especially we've seen with some of the stars that we have, like for example the comedian Ebenezer, who unfortunately committed suicide. There's so many things that we're going through as South Africans, and I just want to make sure that we touch through that when we discuss the mind basket under the mental health segment.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we have for you. All I can say to you is just to stay tuned. Let us keep on engaging using the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show on our socials. Mister, how are you doing this morning, man?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Get up, smell the coffee, and get going, like I've been saying these past 2 days. I hope and I trust that you've been having such an amazing morning thus far. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Of course, to what really promises to be your favorite rendezvous every weekday morning, Monday to Friday. We will be taking such good care of you right here. Right here on Vooka Breakfast Show, brought to you by the Blinko Network. And of course, you'll always be hanging out with me, the one and only MOOCEE Mist. My name is Musi Mist. And like I always say, I could not be happier, man. I couldn't be happier to be in your company and to be with you this morning. Look, I'm looking forward to you and I engaging and interacting and getting to know each other a bit more by sharing our thoughts and all our opinions. And of course, everything else in between. Like Afriberry and Mo said, we've got so much in store for you. And you know that we always try to bring you the most relevant and the most, best people, I guess, for lack of a better word, who are doing such amazing work in the community. And of course, today, with no exception whatsoever, it is Comedy Wednesday. Of course, we'll be we're always hanging out with someone who's quite well versed in the spaces of comedy and making people laugh. So I can't wait to get to that. But before we get to that, Mo and myself will be taking you through everything that you need to know about knowing your rights. So you know that Wednesdays are also dedicated to us trying to give you a bit more information and knowledge and share light on the subject of knowing your rights and practicing them very responsibly, because we know that rights are always accompanied by responsibilities. So can't wait to get into all of those things. But of course, you can also engage with me and the rest of the team across all our social media platforms. We go by Vooka Breakfast Show. So that's Vooka Breakfast Show on Facebook and all other social media platforms. Comment, like, subscribe, and do the things that are necessary to be done so that you and Mo and myself and Mo can get in touch and engage with each other so that we can share. And TC, what did I say? And Afriberry, what am I saying, man? And I got super so.
And Mo and me and
Afriberry. So that all of us can get in touch and interact and engage with each other using the hashtag of Vooka Breakfast Show.
Happens to the best of us. Of course, the hashtag Wednesdays are for winning. What are you winning today? Are you winning yourself or are you winning someone else, life or attention? Because we know that today's day is actually, spoken worldwide when it comes to WCW, your Woman Crush Wednesday. But yeah, before we get into that, we know that we always have something public that always concern you that we need to cover. Because of course, when we talk about something that concern you, we speak about the headlines that always get us talking, and they are controversial. Because this one also speaks to, our theme of today, which is knowing your rights and how to apply them. But now I have a surprise in terms of the headline that we had. Police Chief Fanima Semola said, cops need to practice self-defense. We know that you have a right to defend yourself. If you see someone, trying to invade in your private property or someone trying to harm you, you have the right to defend yourself in the act of self-defense. But now, how far can we take self-defense? Because some other people, when they provide proof and statements in court, you can see that they use, this right as something that can serve them only. But let me get into the article right here. So what I want to do, Okay, let me just go through this article. So, National Police Chief Fanima Semola said officers have the right to defend themselves against heavily armed criminals. So he has defended the actions of law enforcement teams following a series of shootouts between cops and suspects in parts of the country. Last week, police shot dead 4 suspected extortionists in the north of Durban. SAPS spokesperson Nonkululeko Pokane said the commissioner says officers have a duty to use the necessary force to protect the public. Now, this is something to speak about. Do we think that our police need the necessary force to avenge themselves or to protect themselves? Even when you are in the situation where a police officer, comes across this situation and this scenario whereby there's someone who's trying to harass you, and then in the midst of the action, while the police is trying to protect you from the perpetrator, something happens. Police pulls out the gun and then they shoot the criminal so that you can be defended. So obviously there are distinctions that we need to find. Okay, how do we go about this? But we know that self-defense is something that we always practice. Right?
It's I don't know, man. It's a tricky one for me. It's a tricky one, and it borders on. It's just on the board for me, on the borderline. Get on the board. It's on the borderline for me, because how far is protecting yourself, or how far would you go to protect yourself, or like what with him saying this? What are the responsibilities that accompany? The thing of police officers having to defend themselves. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And I don't know. I'm slightly a bit on the fence about this one, because self-defense. There's a sense of relativity to it. I don't think it's a standard objective thing that we have that can be said it applies across the board. Of course, yes, one would defend themselves. Amara, I like how you said extreme. What's the thing that you said, that they can defend themselves under extreme measures, or like when perpetrators are heavily armed, not musi fela o bidizeng kampama o bosetse o re ke self defense be le shapa lolotle le le bo my 6, because that's something that can be argued and said and be said, no, we were defending ourselves. This perpetrator was attacking us as police officers. So I don't know, man. Yes, I agree, police officers should protect themselves, because they do from time to time come across very severe and serious cases where perpetrators are very heavily armed. In that instance, in that case, of course, I completely agree. Take the necessary force to defend yourselves and bring those people to justice. Right, Mara? Hey, man, I don't know. I feel like they're gonna make use of this as an excuse. And use it as an scapegoat, or in some instances to try and justify their actions of saying, no, we didn't beat him up, we were protecting ourselves. So I don't know. It's good, Mara. It has it's a touch and go type of situation. Yeah,
definitely. I'm an ordinary citizen. You are an ordinary citizen. Now we need to ask ourselves, if someone is coming in our way to harm us, what do we do in that moment? Because there was a conversation that we once had right here in the studio, because there was an article that appeared that spoke to now many women in South Africa owning guns. But the question was, why? Yes, it's an obvious answer that they are trying to protect themselves from harm. So, going through that conversation, there was that thing that if someone is coming in my house, obviously they have invaded, my property. They have invaded my property, and now they automatically turn into a criminal. So, what do you need to do to protect yourself, right? So, in them coming to harm you, yes, I was like, no, I have to shoot them because I don't know why this person here. I locked my gate first thing first. We know that in townships, when someone is right outside your gate, they need to knock or they need to call out your name. We have cell phones. You can even call me. But I can't just go outside and then boom, my friend is just dead standing there. Right? So they know what to do. Stay outside. So the conversation went on to say, you know what? No, I'd rather shoot the person because I don't know what the person is going to do. But now the law states something different. They say if the person does not have a gun or does not have the intention to harm you, you don't have the right to shoot them. Now we must read criminals. You say, okay, this one is going to shoot me, this one. Okay, this one is here to ask the bread. This one is here to clean the garden.
Aye, man.
Right? So we need to some kind of, go through the law and understand, because as an ordinary citizen, I will say again that for me, I see invasion of privacy when somebody has just went up your wall and got into your yard. But now, the police spokesperson, he further said police have observed with concerns statements issued in defense of criminals and questionable silence when officers are killed in the line of duty, including committee members who are always at risk and at times killed as innocent bystanders. 21 police officers have been killed in the line of duty since April last year. Meanwhile, over 1.2 million people have been arrested since the launch of Operation Shanela for various crimes, including murder and rape. Is this a good initiative to push that police need to defend themselves and they should act according to what the situation look like? Because for me personally, guys, I feel like police should do it, man. It's police. If the law can go against us, I think it should give the police that free role of protecting South African citizens, because we know that we are one of the countries that has the highest rates of crime.
But how far do we take it, Mo? How far is too far? That's my thing, though. Like, I get protecting yourselves. I do get it. We had a conversation, and it's a friend of a friend who is a police officer, and I think he's been in the force for what, maybe 2 or 3 years now. And as he was telling us about his journey, going to school and studying, and he shed some light on a few things, and it was interesting to find out some of those things, right? So I asked him about a thing that officers and the police service does in the States, which is pepper sprays and body cams. For me, those things can really lead to a situation not getting out of hand and escalating unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So, and body cams, guys, I vouch for that. Like, I really hope someday that SAPS can look into it and invest in it, and verse themselves quite extensively in having body cams, because I promise you, body cam, corruption engata itlo fela, guys.
Yeah,
Corruption engata, especially officers who go out in the field. It doesn't matter gore o dila ka petty crime or you are targeting the most ruthless criminals out there, the kingpin, tsa di drug, tsa ntweneng, illegal mining, and all of those things. Please, like, I feel like it would go so far in restricting ntweneng corruption and misuse of power, because I feel like to a certain extent and to some extent, right, South Africa young, it will stop a cold drink.
Yeah.
I promise you, it will stop a do you get what I'm trying to say? So the thing for me is, I honestly feel like, and I could be wrong, and I stand to be corrected, and this is not me trying to bash the SAPS, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like to some extent they're going to use this as an excuse to misuse their power.
Yeah.
To misuse. Already they are doing it. Mapolisa ashapana already.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not vouching for it, and I'm not saying I'm trying to use it to suit my narrative. Mara, we know that there are some perpetrators and criminals. One understand?
Atsoge, yeah.
And akhalemele and stop what they are doing. Mara, everybody.
You know, when you're saying this, it reminds me of when kuqala unity la peqela amaperete.
Yeah, my parents, about 10
Are you
years
aware
ago.
that those people would literally beat up people without even listening
without
to
provocation?
what's happening, without being provoked? So in a way, as much as yes, police need to know how to defend themselves, but what about the previous crimes where they used to hit people without them being provoked? Akeha and Mapolisa, they die almost each and every single month, or almost each and every single week. But they're literally cops who will use the fact that they are police to their advantage and literally smack around people for not doing a single thing.
Nah,
There's
but
a
people are
video
being
that I saw, I think last month.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation. There's a video that I saw last month where a woman went to a police station in Pretoria to go and report her boyfriend who was abusing her.
Yeah.
2 female police officers. And as a fellow woman, I'm disappointed in you guys. 2 female police women. Actually, you know what they did? They pushed her out of the station instead of taking a statement. Kabati. Ne ba nagana gore they in a clear angle. Kante camera ke le mole e ba shebile. Ke ga ba shapa ngwana batho.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
They were beating her. How can you beat up as somebody who's abused and coming to you for help? In all honesty, before we can even say that yes, they do need to learn self defense and learn how to protect themselves against criminals. That's a good thing. I don't agree. I don't disagree to that. But before they can even learn that, can you please take them for psychological evaluation? Because most police that are out there are very bonkers.
Yeah, that's the thing. We do not understand the things that they see because
Hence, they need to
right
go for
now,
psyche.
Constable is from a crime where he saw bodies were lying down right there. You know, head was there. You know, the legs were there. So when a constable is coming back, he gets you on the line, and now constable is trying to gather his thoughts. Yes, we understand that. Yes. Police stations are there to serve the community and the people of South Africa in general. But we have seen that as citizens, we get to disrespect officers. And now, when it comes out as an act of violence, I'm not saying we are not promoting violence. We know we are against violence and it's not wrong. A police officer is not allowed, to beat an ordinary citizen in the street. They are not allowed. Right, but now if people come to seem to come as disrespectful towards police officers, it's something that we need to address. Right, it's something that we always need to look upon. We need to respect police officers, guys. If someone has a badge, let's put respect on that. It's something that we have to do. Respect is something that we need to put.
Respect should be practiced across the board.
Yeah.
In spite of your profession. Respect is something that should be practiced across the board by individuals in spite of your profession.
Yeah.
You understand? This thing of saying, I'm a police officer, I should respect, I should. Says who?
I'm wearing a badge.
And so?
I'm wearing a badge.
And so?
No.
Yeah, so you should put some respect.
No, man.
No.
It's the same as Kontlung. It's the same as parents. Let's be honest. Me, I believe in this. Even at home, they know. You respect me, I respect you. How do you expect a child to respect you if you do not respect the child as a human being?
It's a different context and scenario.
No, but
No,
it's
it
the same.
applies.
It applies.
It applies.
As an officer, you need to do something that is very respectable in order for
Yes,
me
you're
to
right,
respect
African.
you.
Yeah.
If you are respectable and you respect the uniform that you're in. Khala re bona di videos tsa mapodisa mo thateng a tsamaelelo tawa ka uniform. O ba re ke tlhompele podisa.
Exactly. Bona. When a police officer comes in a scenario, they are taught to practice their awareness the way ba rutilweng ka teng. They go through trials where they are shown, or in a scenario, you can't get in, a place or in what do you call this, in a crime scene.
Yeah.
How if you kind of like, dumelang. If you are in the way, move. Because we've seen that, the next thing wakwata.
But there's a nice way of asking.
Yeah, but
Aye, guys, no, come on. We are looking at a scenario that is different here.
But that's also manners.
Please move. I have to work.
These people are also
someone
supposed
is
to
running
respect
away
civilians.
with this crime scene. Someone is running away, and then when now you respect to be Sisi.
No, we're not
Okay,
saying,
well, that one is a
No,
bit
no,
different.
but here's the thing.
If
not-
there's a suspect running away, then you're sharp. Move.
Yeah,
then
guys,
I'll
move out of the way.
But what I'm saying is, you find me standing there, Suda. Awa. You are taught to. They are also taught to respect civilians, so that the civilians can respect them. Me, what I vouch for and what I pray for is that before they even learn this self-defense, they must get the body cams first.
Yeah.
They need to, because remember we had an article where they talked about them getting body cams.
Yeah.
They need to get the body cams first, because otherwise, baby. But I know in my street there's a girl who once chased his siblings from the house, and straight
Yeah.
such
You
instances.
things
No,
all that. So
man.
for me, I have something here. It says he warned that officers will respond decisively as empowered by relevant legislation.
Exactly.
I think maybe this is a conversation we should continue at some time.
Yeah.
And see what this legislation says. But he says, as criminals increasingly engage in gun battles with police, National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola has put down his foot, saying officers will respond decisively as empowered by relevant legislation. Since April last year, 21 police officers have been killed in the line of duty, according to the commissioner. This is an alarming figure that calls for community members and civil society to rally behind the police and fight against life-threatening community, he said. He added, police have observed with concern statements issued in defense of criminals and questionable silence when police officers are killed in the line of duty, including community members who are always at risk and at times killed as innocent bystanders. So I completely get it, and it's that's why I get it. I don't think there's a standard or an objective thing to it, saying this is how it will work, this is how it should work, this is how it's going to be executed and practiced. Because it's that's why I get it. It's relative, man. The term of self-defense is relative.
Shoot to kill.
In more than exactly that, like it could go to that extent. Because the thing is, as much as the officers are trained to handle firearms, guns have their own spirit. Moto girlfriend from wherever he's coming from, and he has his official firearm on him. Comes across a petty crime that can be de-escalated, a situation that can be de-escalated, detain the offender, not arrest them, detain the offender, and make the situation de-escalate and be avoided to go to extremes. Mara, cause you're pissed off by your girlfriend or whatever the case, and then you're saying you're going to try and justify and say it's self-defense. And I get that, yes, police officers are dying, guys, time and time again. And I'm not trying to say it's a good thing or I'm condoning it, but in more than most cases, we've found in our communities that police have misused their power. In saying, "Well, I'm a police officer, get very bad," stuff that.
Put some respect, but also
anyway,
it speaks to the training that they get. So, in the last, statement by the police chief, for as long as criminals attack police officers, the police will respond decisively as empowered by relevant legislation that governs the work of the police. Police have observed with concern statements issued in defense of criminals and questionable silence when police officers are killed in the line of duty, including community members who are always at risk and at times killed as innocent bystanders. Hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show. Tell me what you think. Do you think police need to use the necessary force to defend themselves from criminals? Guys, I think they should. We are in a country that has a high criminal rate, high crime rate. So definitely, I believe that the police minister and the spokesperson, they need to come and give relevant information on how this will benefit the country and how we will see the declining of the crime rate in SA.
Mo, just before you close it off, when they also come back and say that they must also let us know as civilians, how do we defend ourselves from police who also go trigger happy or just go out in the street for the love of it. The same goes for my green beans sabon. Little now we should be able to do a self-defense on them.
No. We are fighting crime here. We can't fight each other. So I think that's a conversation that we are going to have next time whenever the police statements are issued on these, because there are cases that they are handled privately by the police officers. Vooka amahle, I can't see you right there on the comment section. What is going on? Sivugile, or should we go back to sleep? Should we go back to sleep? If we should go back to sleep, just let me know so that we can close, switch off the cameras, switch off the mics and everything and go back to sleep. Because as I've said, every time when you get into the chat, you need to use the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show or hashtag Sivugile. Rise and shine. It's an epic morning. A very good morning to you if you just joined. What we're about to do right now, because we are 2 minutes away till we hit 8 o'clock. Let me take a short break, and then when we come back, obviously, we are from what we call a long weekend and celebrating human rights. We're just gonna do some recap on what the president was saying on celebrating Human Rights Day right here in South Africa. So stay tuned, grab a cup of coffee, a glass of water, because about a lot of things about to happen right here. Right? Thank you.
My name is Moketi Maimane.
Catch us every weekday morning, Monday to Friday between 7 and 10.
Right here on the Vooka Breakfast Show, brought to you by the Blinko Network.
Always bringing you the best content possible.
Vooka Nati, wake up with us and kickstart your day on a great note.
This is your energetic start to the day.
Well, yeah, shopping blossom memory. Yes.
Wow!
You wish it was you.
All right, 2 minutes past 8. It is the time, and you're still watching your best epic morning show, which is the Vooka Breakfast Show, your energetic start of the day. Located in the heart of Johannesburg is Soweto, Dobsonville. That is where we are streaming live. My name is Moketi Maimane, and I'm here with my best team, Musi Mist, and the one and only Afri Berry.
Hey, Mr. Mo. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look, man, it's a Wednesday morning, and the time right about now is 2 minutes past the hour, 8 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning. What am I saying?
Yes.
I'm still caught on yesterday, man. And look, man, I am. Yeah, I should. We are live streaming from the Blinko Studios, and we're about to bring you so much when it comes to all things about knowing your rights, and of course, when we are considering things that have to do with laughing. So, in studio later, we're going to be joined by Osvaldo Nyaka. You know that he was here a couple of weeks ago, and he was giving us all things about Monday motivation. And then the following day, he was informing us and shedding light on all things regarding personal finances and financial literacy and education. And today, look, man, this is a man who's well versed in quite a few spaces, Mo, and I can't wait to get into the conversation with him later on today. So, Managoha, you can also engage with us across all our social media platforms using the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show.
Yeah, definitely. On YouTube, we have KTTUZ Ogel Tag. And I agree with Musi. The cops need body cams and dash cams.
Yeah.
No cho after that. Well, yes, guys, we do, advocate for the body cam so that we can see how these crimes and how the conversation goes, between the police and also the crime, victims. So what we will advise is, yes, it's a petition that we can start as, citizens in South Africa, and to say, police need body cams, because now we actually find ourselves in a situation where we go back and forth and we end up having physical, fight with the police, which is not the right thing. We need to put a respect on the badge. If tomorrow I wear a badge, guys, you need to respect me. It ends there. Definitely. So, speaking of human rights, we know that last week we were celebrating human rights, and we were from a very, good long weekend where people got to, be with their families and enjoy the history that South Africa breeds. We know that on the 21st of March, a massacre in Sharpeville occurred, and 21 people who lost their lives are still celebrated till this day. But now, President Cyril Ramaphosa was addressing, the Human Rights Day at the George Tabe Stadium in Sharpeville, speaking with the citizens of South Africa on what this day means. So he said 64 years have passed since the ground on which we gather here in Sharpeville bore witness to one of the worst atrocities committed by the apartheid regime against the South African people. And although many decades have passed, we still remember with great sorrow and pain the 69 people who were killed and many more who were maimed as they protested in peace against the grave injustice imposed on them. We still recall how every black South African, colored Indian was denied the basic human rights to which they were entitled. As we are going to speak, that it is of importance for you to practice your rights as a South African citizens. Know your rights. Go to the Constitution. The Constitution has everything that you need. If you need it, I am going to let you know that the website to visit, it's www.gov.za.co.za to get every information that you need. Guys, have you ever found yourself where you were denied your basic human rights? Or you've never experienced it at all?
No, not really.
Yeah, it speaks to the democracy that we are in. In which it's a good thing, guys. It's a very good thing. People are practicing their human, basic human rights.
But are they aware of the responsibilities that accompany those rights? Because Batu are very quick to say, I know my rights.
Yeah.
But you know the responsibility that accompany those rights. That's my thing. Like, you can't just be saying we have to enjoy rights. There are basic rights like shelter and clean sanitation and things of that sort. Food. As a child, you have a right to basic education. Yeah. All those things. But do we know the responsibilities? That's my thing. People are so quick to say that they know their rights, but I think what the education is also failing in my view, and I could be wrong, I stand to absolutely be corrected, is that we aren't at a very low level, ECD level. We aren't necessarily, well, we are taught, but it is not reiterated. Yeah, that's the word. Hey guys, my brain is somewhere else today. It's not drilled in us. Even at a high school level, look man, you need to know the responsibilities that accompany these rights. So and don't be quick to say hey. When a police officer stops you and says you need to know what the exchange should be like. Well, understand that, and know and be in a position where you can identify if a police officer is misusing their power. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I get it. It's great to have all these rights.
But in defense of our people, we know that, guys, our journey and the relentless struggles that we went through as black people, it's the one that draws a thin line in between to say, you know what, man, Wena, do not tell me that I don't deserve to be. No. Let me explain. Because to what we see as dangerous scenarios, it was difficult for most of the black people, guys. And also, community activists, they came in and said, guys, the reason you see a lot of people are practicing their rights without responsibilities is because of the history that the country has.
So the history now is being used as a justification.
Yes.
No, so but is it right though?
It's not.
Exactly.
It's not.
Yeah.
So obviously that's why the Constitution is there. And now I feel like the Constitution is not doing enough justice to the people.
No, it's not even about
explaining.
No, it's not,
detail.
guys. It's not even about the Constitution.
Yeah.
Yes, South Africa has a gruesome history when it comes to oppression and all of those things. Yes, we get it. We've gone through it. We've read about it. Every year we are reminded when Mandela's birthday comes and all of these things. We are reminded when June 16 comes around. We are reminded. We know. We've watched Sarafina 100 times.
We need
to understand. But this should not be used as a justification. Because now, what are we leading our country to? Do rules not matter? Do laws not matter?
I doubt it's justification.
It is, though. You just agreed. It is. It's justification.
Okay.
Because it's my right. Black people were oppressed for a long time.
Yeah, but
so is that statement not a justification? Saying black people were abused for a long time. That's why I did this because it's my right.
It's not. But let us look at what reality, says to where we are.
Yeah, what's reality saying?
So let me make a simple example and put it in a context so that we can understand. We have Musi and we have Mwikiti right here. So for so long, 30 years coming in, and working towards having a great country. So you decide that you're going to go behind my back and you kill my child, you kill my wife, and you kill my parents.
Yeah, that's a different thing. Already, before you continue.
It's not.
But it's by virtue of saying killing. Now I'm a criminal, Pel.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's there's no justification for that.
That's just journey of the struggle that we
No.
It's real.
No. Criminality and what happened during the struggle. Guys, the analogies in my view don't go along together. They don't apply to each other. They don't. For instance, how I don't even know what example I can use, but I don't even know, man, because I don't want to cross the line and find myself contradicting my own statements. But we can't use those things as justifications.
So even with history, we have museums, we have apartheid museums. As people, if we said, we want to move on from something, because today, if I can steal your classes, you're not going to monument that and build a statue over here and say, this is where Mo stole my classes, right? So apartheid museums and the Constitutional Hill, they speak to what has happened. It's real. It has happened.
Yes. And
those consequences, they led for, the benefit of what the country looks like it is today.
Okay.
But Mo, what you're saying is also the fact that because we have so much history where our people have fought for, the love of democracy, being able to move around, the freedom of movement, being able to go go where you want to go without being asked for an ID, which was still being asked for right now in this day and age, by the way. So no, we don't have freedom of movement.
Where?
My body, sir.
Aye.
Go to Joburg.
Where you guys live?
2 weeks back, when I was supposed to go to another event that I had to work at, we got stopped by the cops and like, where's your ID? And I'm like, I don't have my ID. Who carries an ID in this day and age? You know, they almost put me in the back of a van for that. I'm like, but who carries an ID? We have so much crime out there. And you want to arrest me for not carrying an ID? Yet there are people sitting on the corner about Torapo. That doesn't make any sense. And yes, as much as we have fought for the rights that we have, and our forefathers fought for that, but that does not mean that we must misuse the rights that we currently have at this moment.
Yeah.
Because the fight and the struggle would have been for nothing.
Yeah.
We fought for the right of movement, the freedom of education, freedom of equality. But yet we want to misuse that and say, I can what, and you want to go and vandalize somebody else's property. That does not justify the right that has been fought for or the right that has been put in there. There's so many legal routes that you could take to fight for what you want to fight. But then, unfortunately, even the justice system is messed up. Anyway.
Guys, in everything that we do, there's an income and an outcome. So history speaks to the income that has happened and what are the results of that income. We have an outcome today. You know, the country is in deeply serious issues. So it's something that when we need to look and, approach, the manner of approach that we use to address these kind of things. Yes, we need to be careful, but in reality, that is what we faced. That is what our president was saying, on the 21st when he was addressing. So he said it was a difficult and dangerous journey traveled by communist activists and union organizers, by traditional leaders and religious groupings, by freedom fighters and underground operatives, by political prisoners and exiles, and by friends and supporters across the world. It was a struggle that sought above all else to achieve a South Africa which belongs to all who live in it, black and white. It was a struggle to realize the rights contained in the Bill of Rights adopted in 1923 by the African National Congress, which called for equal treatment of all people, equal access to land, direct representation, and voting rights. Some of the things we can't be, bring them up and say, I am hiding behind this. No, I don't have an education because of apartheid. I don't have a degree because of apartheid. Yes, other people they use to hide. But reality, it's the one that speaks to what we have today.
So I'm glad that you made that example.
Yeah.
It's this year's 31 years after the first democratic elections, right? That took place in 1994. So are you saying a 19, 20-year-old kid fresh out of high school can use apartheid as a justification?
Yeah, because my grandmother was kicked.
So
My grandmother was mistreated.
wow,
No,
no,
man.
it's fine.
Granny could have achieved a lot of things, but
okay,
she was
so-
denied an access to most of the
So
resources.
because your grandmother was killed
But
during
then you
apartheid.
getting most of the resources that your grandmother didn't get. The only justification or the only struggle or the only fight we have right now is the right to an educational system that actually works for the youth. Not to be taught about degrees, diplomas that will expire in the next 5 years or after graduating I won't find a job because that job is no longer exists. That's the struggle that we have right now as the youth. The struggle that we have right now is the fact that we are not being taught how to manage our financials, right? We should be taught how to manage money from primary throughout high school. Those are things that we're not being taught. I feel like they should also bring back and practicals, because not everybody is meant to study. Some of us are gifted in doing things in a practical manner compared to a theological way.
What I'm speaking about, it's happening right here, and you guys aren't seeing it.
Where is happening?
Why don't we? Ask
Where
yourself
is
the
it
questions.
happening?
Why is it not happening, and why did it not happen? Because yes, we have the resources, right? We do have the resources. Accessibility is what we're speaking about. But now, why are we not getting the right access? Why is every child in the township, 90% of the child are not getting access to those things? Because back then, there were certain people and minority of people got access to those things, and they have outgrown us to the point that when you start looking at that thing, you need to look 30 years behind or 100 or 400 years behind for you to understand what has happened. So it is something that Mr. President was celebrating. Yes, we are celebrating 30 years of freedom, but now we need to evolve from what has happened. Yes, we can address what has happened. History will always be there, and it is for us to consume and understand why we are here.
How
As
will
I
we
say-
evolve if he, as the president, does not listen to the cries that we have as a nation? He has the key to help us evolve. Bana ba gagwe ba kene di multiracial school and have learned things that we didn't learn for kids in the township. Why is it so hard for him to implement things that his children learned in school, in the schools that are in the townships? And then he says, it is time for us to evolve. Where can we evolve if you're holding the key for evolution?
Exactly.
Nah,
you
man.
are doing the same thing I just spoke about. You're asking the why.
Yeah.
He's the president.
Because before we can get the
he
answer,
was
we need to
there.
start with the why.
He fought for the freedom that we have today. He was one of the people who fought for
Did he
the
really fight?
Yes, he fought. He fought.
I mean,
you know, the struggles.
it's up for debate, but anyway.
Yeah. Obviously, I know that a lot of people will question my leadership skills if I did, fight for the struggle of
Did you though?
for the freedom of
Did
our
you
country.
though?
Yes.
Now.
Yes, I did.
In your
and
dreams.
and obviously in those times there were not so many people who could actually be, on my side and to see, and be exposed to how we got this freedom that we have today. Yes, if I'm a soldier, I go to war with my soldiers. I'm the only one who survived. You guys are going to be asking the same question. You did, because there's no one who's going to be a witness for
But you're
me.
making analogies that don't apply to each other. That's the
They
thing.
do.
Though. They don't.
They do. They do. So, President said, as we celebrate 30 years of freedom, we will reflect on the progress we have made in progressively realizing the social and economic rights contained in our constitution. We have much to celebrate. Millions of South Africans have been lifted out of dire poverty. 8 out of every 10 households have proper housing, which is a good thing. 9 out of every 10 homes have electricity and access to clean drinking water. South Africans are living longer. Far fewer women are dying in childbirth and far fewer children are dying in infancy. More children from poor families are completing schools, passing matric and going on to study at universities and colleges. This has been possible. We have, as a country, focused on correcting the injustice of the past and meeting the needs of the poor. Very good words and wise words from the president.
Cupcake, you are a juta.
What do you mean?
No, those are lies. Where do you take those stats? People in Hammanskraal are still struggling to get water. You have a grandmother who registered a house in 1994. She still doesn't have that house. Like, seriously, who writes his press statement and like,
Guys,
I need to have a serious sit down with that person because whatever they're writing, it's not things that are happening on the ground.
It's things that are happening
In his dreams.
because I, for one, and you are drinking clean water. So we
cannot
can't speak. Yes, people from Hammanskraal, yes, they do have their problems and they're being attended to. Not 99% of South Africans don't drink dirty water. If there are people, we should be looking forward at providing solutions. If we get the right education, let's go to Hammanskraal and do an assessment of how we can solve the problem that is there. But now, if I'm drinking dirty water and people from Hammanskraal are drinking dirty water, it means we don't have solutions. But now, President is speaking about some of the people who have proper housing. And yes, they do have proper housing. How many black people in South Africa do not have housing? It's something that we need to look at. People do have housing. And when we're speaking about education, a lot of black students are being enrolled. A lot of black students are having a very, very high qualification of high stature in the
some
society.
of them are being enrolled in schools that they shouldn't be. This year in January, we had a mother complaining about the Department of Education enrolling her son in an all-Afrikaner school. How do you enroll a black kid who literally just came back from preschool into an all-Afrikaner school and they didn't even do Afrikaans? That doesn't make any sense. There's still so many
They will
loopholes that
learn.
it needs to. Oh,
You speak English now.
oh.
Your parents didn't say, hey, how is my child? I'm gonna learn English. Yeah, we are speaking English. So you have to prat, we need to prat.
Nah, man, Mara, President is not talking the very serious thing. I repeat, whoever's researching his things and whoever's writing his speeches must come and never sit down with me.
Yo. But for the last words of the president, he said, we have traveled this long journey together, but we still have a further to travel and much more to do before everyone can equally exercise the fundamental freedoms that are rightfully theirs. On this Human Rights Day, let us pledge to ourselves and each other that we will travel that road together. I thank you. Oh, very beautiful words from the president right there. Tell me what you think, man, because human rights is something that we will always celebrate right here in South Africa. 21st of March, 2026. Again, it will going to be a long weekend for people to celebrate and look back to what has happened and how did the history of South Africa shape it to where it is today. But now, obviously, when we speak about today, speak about history, it's something that we always do. It is our culture to go through of the historical events that took place around the world or right here locally. So before I get into it, guys, did you find anything that is interesting when it comes to our history?
Of course, every day.
Yeah.
Every day
What do we have?
We have very cool stuff happening, or things that have occurred in history on a day-to-day basis. So one of the ones that I found, and maybe you might have the same ones, Mo. We know that today is the 26th of March, and quite a few things have occurred in history and over the years on this day. In 2018, Black Panther becomes the highest grossing superhero film in America, earning $630.9 million.
Interesting.
In 2018, Black Panther becomes the highest grossing superhero film in America, earning $630.9 million. Very, very cool stuff, man. We know when Black Panther came out, it was crazy. It was too crazy. It was too crazy. Wakanda forever, man. And, Chadwick Boseman, became one of our favorites, Rona, who follow the MCU and Marvel comics and things of that sort, So, yeah, man, that's one I found. The other one is that in 1982, Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder released the single Ebony and Ivory in the UK. In 1982, Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder released the single Ebony and Ivory in the UK. And then in 2013, Ariana Grande's first single, The Way, was released on this day. In 2013, Ariana Grande's first single, The Way, was released on this day. And then the last one is very related to the one that I mentioned yesterday about Mike Tyson. So in 1992, heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in prison following a rape conviction in Indianapolis, Indiana, on this day. So in 1992, heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in prison following a rape conviction in Indianapolis, Indiana on this day.
Yeah, interesting. So I do have some, that I want to go through with you guys. So the first one that I have, in history, in 1991, South Africa allowed white schools to admit black students.
Oh yes.
Contingent on majority parental approval. This marked a step towards ending segregated state education. In a significant step toward dismantling apartheid, South Africa Minister of Education for Whites, Piet Klaas, announced that starting January 1991, 26 March, white state schools could accept black children contingent on a majority parental vote of consent. And then moving on to the next one, 2000, Vladimir Putin is elected president of Russia.
Oh, wow.
The ex-KGB officer has been lauded for leading Russia out of the 1990 economic crisis and criticized for building a regime that many have described as authoritarian and undemocratic. Presidential elections were held in Russia in 26 March 2000. Incumbent Prime Minister and acting President Vladimir Putin, who had succeeded Boris Yeltsin after his resignation on 31st December 1999, sought a 4-year term in his own right and won in the first round. And then on the last one, public lands Joseph McCarthy named Owen Lattimore as a Soviet spy. In 1950, Senator Joseph McCarthy accused Lattimore in particular of being the top Russia espionage agent in the United States. The accusation led to years of congressional hearings that did not substantiate the charge that Lattimore had been a spy. That's all for, today in history. Tell us. Okay.
So, in 1953, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Jones Salk announces that he has successfully tested a vaccine to prevent polio, and clinical trials begin the following year. Oh, by the way, fun fact with Wakanda is actually based around the big hole in Kimberley.
What?
That we in South Africa we have a big hole. It used to be a mining area, so it's like very steep. So the whole dome and the whole part of Wakanda being visible outside to the world is based around that hole in Cape Town.
Interesting facts, man, that do not and always seem to actually amaze us. Did you know that? And if any of the history, that has played a significant role back then, and you do know them, do make sure that you share some of the ones that you know using the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show.
Definitely.
But not forgetting that we have celebrity birthdays that we need to go through today. So on me here, I have a few. The first one is a child Toyd. She was born in 1993 and turning 32 years old.
Who's
Interesting
Child
fact about she's a South African Paralympic sprinter.
Oh.
Yeah, Child Toyd.
Child.
Not Natalie. I know you're thinking about Natalie. Natalie is a swimmer. Right? So she was born. She was born. Yes. Is she? Oh, he. Oh, Child Toyd. So he will be turning 32 years old. Interesting fact about him is that South African Toyd won double gold at London 2017. Oof. Child Toyd is a South African former Paralympic sprinter who competed in the T37 class. Toyd has competed at the 2 summer Paralympic Games, London 2012 and Rio 2016. At the 2016 Summer Olympics, he won gold medals in the 100-meter and 400-meter races, setting a world record in the latter. Happy birthday to you, Charles. And then another one is Arthur Bartman. He was born on the 26th of March 1972 and he would have turned 47 years. Interesting fact about him, he was a Kaizer Chiefs first choice keeper since he joined in 2009. Yes, man. Man, Arthur Bartman, it rings a bell right now because I'm thinking, is this another politician? So, Arthur Bartman was a retired footballer from South Africa and a goalkeeper coaching at Maritzburg United. He was born in 1972 in Pietermaritzburg, and during his playing career, he featured for such clubs as Bay United, Moroka Swallows, SuperSport United, Bushbucks, African Wanderers, and Kaizer Chiefs. And the last one that I have here is Leslie Jean Mann, who was born on the 26th of March 1972. They would have turned 53 years old. The interesting fact about them is that Leslie Mann is a talented actress who has captivated audiences with her charm, wit, and impeccable comedy timing. And she is an American actress. She has appeared in numerous films, including The Cable Guy, She's the One, George of the Jungle, Big Daddy, Orange Country, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, Driblet Taylor, I Love You, Philip Morris, again, Funny People, This is 40, The Bling Ring, Other Women, and The Blockers. That is all for the celebrity birthday.
No, we do. We have
guys,
more. We have more.
Anything?
Of course, today, the songstress Diana Ross is turning 81 today. Diana Ross was born in 1944 and is an American singer and actress known as the Queen of Motown Records. And she was the lead singer of the Vooka group, The Supremes. Do you guys know The Supremes?
Nope.
You don't know The Supremes?
We're not that
Hey,
old.
guys,
Lena
come
knows
on, man.
your music now.
No, but I'm an old soul, so I was there in spirit. Yeah, man. Diana Ross was born on this day, and very interesting fact, and related to the one from one of yesterday's birthdays.
Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, Aretha Franklin's. She grew up in a talented neighborhood with Smokey Robinson and I think Aretha Franklin, if I remember correctly from what I read. So yeah, and here's the funny thing: she has never won a Grammy Award.
Ooh.
Very, very
Really?
surprising. Yeah, she's never won a Grammy Award in turning Aretha Franklin. Diana Ross. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
even the one that they appreciate her for the work that
She has
done.
never won a Grammy Award. Wow. Ever.
Interesting.
And her singing career has gone over decades, man. But funny enough, she's never won a Grammy Award. And then the other one I have here, Cats, I don't know if you can find it very quickly, is Amy Smart. Amy Smart, you guys might know from the movie Crank with Jason Statham. She's done the movie Just Friends as well. Starsky and Hutch. I don't know if you know Starsky and Hutch. Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller. And then she's done other movies, of course.
Yeah.
Varsity Blues. Do you know? You know Varsity
familiar,
Blues. Yeah. So, Amy Smart was born on this day in 1976 and is an American actress.
Yeah.
And 76, she would be turning what? 9 this year. Her age, I know, has 9. So if
92?
No, something 9. What?
29.
No.
Something 9.
She's turning 49
19.
today, man.
49.
She's turning 49.
Oh,
Yeah, she's
interesting,
turning 49.
interesting.
And then she is a Kundalini yoga teacher.
Wow.
I don't know what Kundalini is.
Oh, that's Mo's favorite practice.
Hey man.
What?
From the chakra
Yoga.
things.
Are you?
It has to do with chakras.
So
So
is yoga your?
Kundalini
No.
is right here at the bottom.
No, I was just asking what is the Kundalini. So I was asking when
Some
Titi
form
was
of yoga.
explaining. Yes.
Yeah.
And another thing is that, interesting enough, she studied ballet for 10 years of her life. So Amy Smart is turning 49 years and was born on this day in 1976. The last one I have here is Keira Knightley. Keira Knightley was born on this day in 1985. And she's turning 40. Very interesting enough today. Do you know Keira Knightley?
No.
Keira Knightley, you might know from
Thor Ragnarok.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, Keira Knightley.
Didn't she act on Thor as Thor's the girl that Thor was dating?
No, that's Natalie Portman.
Oh my! They all look the same. to
Keira
me.
Knightley did. You might know Keira Knightley from Jack Sparrow. Kinda what's that movie? Pirates of the Caribbean. She's the
Oh.
girl who dates. Is it not Jude Law? That guy, man. No, is it Luke Evans or something? But I forget.
Yeah, it's Luke
but
Evans.
Orlando Bloom.
Orlando Bloom,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Because Luke Evans and Orlando Bloom, for me, they look very similar.
Yeah.
She's the girl who is the wife to Orlando Bloom in Pirates of
Yeah,
the Caribbean.
yeah.
So
Know her.
Keira Knightley was born on this day in 1985 and is turning 40 years today. So those are some of the birthdays that we have for
Yeah.
you
I
today.
only have one.
Of course, which one do you have?
Today it's Steven Tyler's birthday. He's an American singer and
Yeah.
songwriter, best known as the lead singer of the Boston-based rock band called Aerosmith. Am I reading correct?
Do you know Steven Tyler? Do you know him?
I have seen him on some of the shows. If I'm correct, I think he was. No. He's not the one that was on.
AGT.
Yeah, it's not him.
Someone
But they
else.
kind of look a bit similar, especially in terms of the way they dress.
Yeah. Those are some of the birthdays that we have. So if you know anyone who's growing up today, do not hesitate to send them a shout out by using the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show. So what we're gonna do right now is quickly move to another interesting things that we are going to provide for you, which is word of the day. So our word of the day is discombobulate.
Let me help you very quickly. Mo. Let me help you. You know that starting on Monday, I told you that we are going to be having a twist on word of the day, right? And the reason for that is that all these words that we share with you on a day-to-day basis are aimed at us trying to improve our day-to-day spoken language and, of course, ultimately our vocabulary. Today is no exception whatsoever, because we know that the English language is a varied and beautiful and sometimes confusing with its inclusion of non-phonetically spelled words and complex grammatical rules. However, it also has many unusual and cool words with cool meanings to always discover. All right. And so this week it is no exception whatsoever. But the twist that I said we're going to have this week is that on top of doing a word or learning a new word, we're going to be doing idiom of the day this week. And I know that Cats should have the idiom for you up on your screen. Today's idiom is throw someone into a state of discombobulation. Today's idiom is throw someone into a state of discombobulation. And you might be asking and wondering what an idiom is. An idiom is a phrase or expression whose meaning cannot be understood from the literal meanings of the individual words. Instead, it carries a figurative and non-literal meaning.
Interesting.
So today's word or today's idiom of the day is throw someone into a state of discombobulation. And the word to take away from that is a verb, and the word is discombobulate. Discombobulate is spelled as follows: DISCOMBOBULATE. Discombobulate. And the definition of discombobulate is to confuse, disconcert, or upset someone. It's a fun and fancy way of saying someone is feeling confused or disoriented. Disoriented, yes, sir. So the definition of discombobulate is as follows: to confuse, disconcert, or upset someone. It's a fun and fancy way of saying someone is feeling confused or disoriented.
Yeah.
So the idiom is to throw someone into a state of discombobulation. So we would love to hear your thoughts as to what you think this idiom means, considering the idiom, of course, in itself and the definition of the word discombobulate. And all of this is aimed at us trying to learn and improve our spoken language on a daily basis, and of course, ultimately, our vocabularies, so that we can elevate, the way we speak and we exchange or we have an exchange with each other on a day-to-day basis. So man, that is the idiom of the day. And of course, later on towards the end of the show, we will be coming back with you, trying to figure out if you have figured out what this idiom means, considering the definition of the word discombobulate. So man, get in touch with us and connect with us and engage with us across all our social media platforms using the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show. More, I see on YouTube Tembi Mnqi coming through saying Vugani Mavuga Amahle, hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show, hashtag Sivugile. And then she comes back, says, so interesting. Team history goes a long way. Thank you, guys. Man,
we really appreciate it, Miss Tembi.
sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so much for that. And obviously, man, our word of the day and our idiom is right there in front of
Yeah.
you and in your screen. Discombobulate, right? Yes, I know that sometimes my personality is discombobulating.
Aye,
You know, a
man.
lot of people, they get to be a little bit confused
Yeah.
on who am I and on how I portray myself in general in society. Sometimes I'm quiet, sometimes I'm bubbly. That is so discombobulating.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so without wasting any time, I can see Ms. Tembi is in right here. Vugani Mavuga Amahle. Because right now we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, Mr. Osvaldo will be joining us, talking more about, mental health. So
Yes,
I
sir.
hope his English, is not discombobulating.
Aye, man. Come
Yeah.
on, man.
I hope his English,
Is your
man.
state
Yeah.
of discombobulation a fugacious one?
Yeah, it's for gaze.
Oh, yeah.
Right, for gaze. And somehow it can be ephemeral.
Oh, okay. Look at you.
Yeah, so that I can grasp there and there, man. It's incentives, man. It's incentives.
Yeah.
So, yeah, do make sure that you stay with us because we are heading to the top of the hour, but an interesting interview and a conversation is going to happen right here. So stay tuned, grab a cup of coffee. Do not go anywhere as I prepare you with your weather forecast for today.
Musi Mist.
My name is Moketi Maimane.
Catch us every weekday morning, Monday to Friday between 7 and 10.
Right here on the Vooka Breakfast Show, brought to you by the Blinko Network.
Always bringing you the best content possible.
Vooka Nati, wake up with us and kickstart your day on a great note.
This is your energetic start to the day.
All right, 15 minutes till we hit 9 o'clock. And before the break, I had a special surprise for you because Osvaldo is now joining us here on the table. You might know him as someone who joined us on the Monday Motivation. And on a Tuesday, he came again as someone who's going to advise us on how to spend money, which is the finance and the personal finance segment. Now he is going to be joining us on a very sensitive conversation and a sensitive subject that most of the people do not like to dwell into. Every time when they're being asked, it's like, no, let's leave it and I am okay. So, going to be looking into mental health. Musi, are you ready for this conversation?
Like, I can't wait to get into it more. You're absolutely right when you say it is a sensitive issue, and especially amongst, and I'm sure maybe Osvaldo can correct me on this one if I'm incorrect and I'm wrong, but I feel like it's still one of those conversations that the black society don't necessarily like having, especially in our families at home, you know, when you are someone who suffers from a mental disorder, they'll say, I'm an A, you're just sick, man, stop.
Yeah.
You know, I get over yourself. And when you start laughing and maybe trying to come back to your normal self, they say you are acting up, you know. And I've seen that quite a lot of times in our black society in general. And these are some of the things that we should start being knowledgeable about and finding out the correct information when it comes to all these different kinds of mental disorders, because mental health is a crucial aspect of overall well-being, and it's important to understand that mental disorders are common, affecting a significant portion of the population, and that effective treatments and support are available. You know, so I can't wait to get into the conversation with Osvaldo so that he can shed some light, you know, and maybe more dismantle misconceptions as well, you know, that we have out there in our society. So welcome, Mr. Osvaldo. We really appreciate you coming in again. It feels like now you're part of us, you know. This is the third time you come, and it is always such a treat when you are around, you know. So welcome. We appreciate you coming through, man.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
It feels so good to be here again.
Yeah. So look, without any further waste of time, and let's get into it. Firstly, perhaps maybe for someone who does not necessarily know what mental health is, let's maybe first try and define the term mental health, because I think now it's been a couple of years where the word and the term has been shouted out so many times. We've heard it all over and again, and it's been making the waves across all social media platforms. But someone out there might be watching and does not know what the correct and actual definition of mental health is. Let's get straight into it. What is mental health?
Okay, so according to my understanding, mental health is the way your mental aspect of your life is doing, how you perceive in the world, and how you also interacting with the world. That is what I would say my definition of mental health is. How are you interpreting the world?
Yeah.
And as a result of that, how are you reacting to how you're seeing what's happening in the world? Yes.
A very good one, man, because I think, you know, when you speak about perception and how people perceive, I know we have people who have different ways of perceiving and, you know, receiving what they see in general. So I think the most question that is asked is, you know, the most common mistakes and misconception that people have about mental health. Can you please take us through that?
Okay, so the most common misperception that people have around mental health is that there's a disorder to someone. So when we say that there's a disorder to someone, we are effectively putting a label on the person.
Yeah.
And because of that label, then the person is judged in a certain way. And we react to that person because of the label that we put on them, because we've termed or given them the label that this person isn't in a disordered state.
Yeah.
So because of that, it affects how we relate to the person, how we react to the person, and how we see the person and perceive the person.
Yeah. Yes. Interesting, because when it comes to, you know, the issues of mental health, a lot of people have went on because now the conversation is sensitive, and I like this subject in terms of how it can be abroad to say, okay, if someone is having mental issues, how can we, approach, what manner of approach should we use? I mean, should we use professional ways or should we use traditional ways, right? So I think the question, it arises there that, okay, the issues, how do we see them? How do we deal with them? Professionally or traditionally, or both ways?
I think it's important to try and look at the benefits of the both, the traditional way as well as the professional way. Now, before we start to treat the person, it's important for us to understand from how the person is relating to the world. And how I see it is that we also have to change the way in which we perceive and see reality.
Yeah.
So this is something that I'm just going to add in. So when we study the Greek philosophers, there's one of my favorite philosophers, which is Heraclitus.
Okay.
Heraclitus was a pre-Socratic philosopher, meaning that he came before Socrates and Aristotle in them. So he was of that thought school. And he said something so profound, and I think it's important for us to understand this, that reality is composed of complementary opposites, meaning that for something to exist, it needs its contrast and its opposite for it to be true.
Yes.
So without its contrast, then you don't have the reality of that thing. And then when you study psychology, then you start to realize that we express ourselves through emotions.
Yes.
And emotions in themselves are a biased interpretation of what we see. So our emotions are not necessarily the full truth, because an emotion only sees one side to one thing without the other. So the moment we start to understand that the reason why I feel sadness is because I don't see the complementary opposite of that sadness. So in other words, I'm biased towards the sadness, and now I'm experiencing and expressing myself through sadness. And that's why I'm in the state of sadness.
Yeah.
But if we take that back to Heraclitus and his teaching, and we start to realize that what is the complementary opposite of the sadness, and why am I then neglecting that opposite? And then you start to find that as human beings, we have two parts to our minds. We both know that we've got a positive and a negative aspects to our minds. There's the aspects that if I do things that you love and I come and I give you the things that you say, well, this is good. If I come, I give you 10 million, you'll be like, wow, Osvaldo is the greatest guy. He's on this pedestal. Right?
Yeah.
But then if I come and I do the opposite of that, I come and I steal 10 million from you, then now your emotion is the opposite of that. Now, anytime you have a bias towards one without the other, that's when you create this half reality, should I say it.
So
Wow.
we as humans, according to where we are, in our mental state, we create those imbalances within ourselves. Because right now, for me, the emotional state that I'm feeling, I'm like, okay, I should respond to how I am feeling right now, right? So are you telling me that in contrast to what I am feeling, it's one-sided? So I'm trying to understand that, because right now I'm feeling like, a happy soul. Let me just go and express how happy I feel outside, because it's something that I'm feeling right now. So I want to understand the contrast in between of being biased.
Yes. So you're expressing that happiness, and you're going to strive to want to keep that happiness. So where, for example, if we look at that happiness that you're expressing and feeling, where we have something which is called the depressive state will come when you want to experience happiness without its complementary opposite. So in other words, the more you try to be one-sided, the more your depression levels will go up. So again, I'll go back to my mentor, Dr. John DeMartini, where he always said that depression is actually a comparison of your reality to a fantasy that you want to impose on your reality. Remember, we said that reality has two sides. Everything has two sides. You can't separate one without the other. you will never experience a loss without a gain. You need to lose something and you're going to gain something, and you're never going to gain something without losing something.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of what's happening every single day and every single moment.
Yeah.
So the more you try to impose one without the other, that's when you have that emotional expression of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen this, where have you ever tried to be at your happiest? And the more happier you are, the more you attract the equal and opposite of that. Have you ever dated someone where you go home or you go and see that person and you are at your happiest moment? You put yourself on a pedestal. You're like, I'm the greatest guy ever. Everyone should just be kissing my feet. And then you get home or you get to see that person and that person puts you down. Now, from an emotional bias point of view, you can say, well, you're causing me to be sad. And I don't want this. You're bringing all this toxicity into my life. I don't want this. I want to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
Now, you could interpret that as that person is not fulfilling your desires and the person is not perhaps serving you. But in actual fact, what that person is there to do is to bring balance to that emotion that you're having. So that's why you have these contrasting emotions. Remember, reality is made up of two equal opposite ends. And then if you track that, the source of your happiness, and you have that, you'll understand that the source of my happiness is how I'm interpreting things.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm labeling this person as someone who's making me sad is because I'm addicted to that dopamine of wanting to be happy.
Yeah.
But if you balance that in and actually ask yourself, what is the benefit of this person making me sad? Then you add that and you see that, oh, they're actually bringing me down on a level. It's making me calm. And because I'm calm, I'm able to then make rational decisions.
Yeah.
So that's how that person is serving you. Then in contrast to the happiness, if you go in and say, okay, what are then the drawbacks to that happiness? If I'm happy, I make bad decisions. If I'm very, very happy, I can go to the club on a Friday and spend all my money because I'm in that happy state. So those are then the drawbacks. So by integrating them, then you go back to what Heraclitus spoke about, that the moment that reality is compromised of equal opposite ends.
So let me, you've said so much, and there's so many questions that jumped into my mind when you were, speaking of all of these things, and I'm finding it very interesting because I feel like you're bringing something up for me personally that, as you're explaining how these things work and how people go about navigating that space, right? I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like in general in society, these are things that as individuals we battle with on a day-to-day basis, and not all of us are, I guess, self-aware on that level. To even be able to observe these contrasts within ourselves, right? And this inward battle that could be happening. But are you then saying that in striving for ultimate happiness, you are in turn attracting the exact opposite of that, which could be described as depression, as a depressive state, in chasing and saying, you know what, I always want to be happy. I don't want to feel sadness because I've felt it so much. And like you said, because you can't identify the one without having gone through the opposite of that, right? So I've felt this ultimate sadness in whatever way I have, but now I'm chasing after ultimate happiness. And that's my thing now. So are you saying it would then cause one to, I guess, unconsciously attract or gravitate towards depression?
Yes, because remember, so it's sort of like pain and pleasure. Pain and pleasure are on the equal opposite spectrum. So if I could just draw like a mental image, picture it as sort of like a pedestal, which is the ultimate positive, and then all the way down is the ultimate negative. So in these two contrasts, remember we said that at the center, reality is made up of the two. Pain and pleasure. Right? So now, if you perceive extreme pain, then you're going to try to seek extreme pleasure. Right? So anytime you try to seek that extreme pleasure, you're trying to balance out that extreme pain that's going on. So unconsciously, you're running that extreme pain by chasing that extreme
to
pleasure.
fuel this.
To fuel
I
that,
see
right?
you.
But then the moment you integrate that pain to that pleasure as a one-to-one, then you don't have an emotional bias towards that perception of that pain and that pleasure.
But then is emotional bias, Osvaldo, not an innate thing in all of us?
Yes, it is an innate thing. It's an expression of who you are. So the emotions are there as a guiding system.
Okay.
So what happens is, if you come home and you're frustrated, your frustration is a guiding system to let you know that you're doing something that is causing you to be frustrated. What is that thing that's making you get frustrated?
Yeah.
For example, you could say that I'm frustrated because I'm going to use simple analogy. I'm frustrated because I went to a club on a Friday. I met an opposite sex. I spent over 10,000 Rand. And the outcome that I wanted was not the exact outcome that I did. So now you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, the frustration is that I didn't get what I want. The frustration is I drank a lot. So that frustration is there to teach you a lesson. But then what happens is we try to remove the frustration and be like, no, this expression can't exist, but it is there because
it's a reality at that moment.
It's the reality of that moment. So your frustration is there. So by going in and asking yourself the question of, okay, what is the benefit of this frustration that I'm feeling? Then you're going to start to reveal the opposite spectrum of that. Where you'll be like, okay, the frustration is that I had an unrealistic expectation on someone. The unrealistic expectation was that person, because I gave them something, was supposed to give me something in return. But in reality is that I can only get something from someone if I'm able to give them something that they perceive they wanted. There's that equal exchange. So now because I was on this pedestal that, I'm this great person, I can just give this and get what I want. So the lesson was that I have to get out of myself and understand other people, understand what they want, so that in turn I can get what I want from that person. So that's the lesson of that frustration.
So I mean, there's so much to dissect, ne, because there's this question I want to ask. Going through emotional intelligence, they always say, always know the root of the problem. But now, is that easy for someone who has, chemical imbalances, right? Is it easy to get to the root of the problem and understand what is going on with you?
Yes, it is. I mean, I'm privileged that with my clients and the teachings that I do, I use something which is called the DiMartini method. So within the DiMartini method, what we find and what I've experienced with some clients is that the moment your perception changes, your chemical imbalances go away. Because remember that the body is an expression of what's going on with you mentally. So your body is just expressing what you're going through mentally. So you could say that a body is a storage of those emotions. So the more of those emotions you have stored, the more of those chemical imbalances happen. I mean, even the word tells you itself, chemical imbalance. That means you are perceiving one thing without the other. So you've seen this where, have you ever been too nice to society? And you express this whole happiness and you give.
Being too good for your own good.
Being too good for your own good. And then what happens after that? I'm sure you've gotten sick because of that. So your body now is bringing balance to what you're doing to the outside world. So then you get sick. So the moment you're getting sick, what's happening, your body is telling you it's time to pay attention to me. It's time to receive.
Instead of pouring out.
You see, so those are those expressions of the body where it's now telling you you've given too much. Now let's get sick so we can get
something back.
Back. And that's where you get these illnesses.
I love how you explain that, because these are conversations we always have, and it's so, Mo, we always sit and we discuss and talk about so many things, but I think we always, or not always, but in more than most cases as individuals, when we go about discussions and engagements and sharing our thoughts and our opinions, there is a sense of not necessarily finding a balance because of how we perceive different things in life that we've come across or things that we've learned and we've heard about. But let me slightly take you back. When you said, you'll come back from a girlfriend and she would have made you so happy and you'd be on such a high, right? And then you get home and then a musi frustrates you.
Yes.
And then you experience the exact opposite of that, right? Would then what musi does to you, would I be wrong in saying that to a certain degree or an extent would be a projection? Would be me projecting on you and wanting to make you feel how I feel?
Yes.
Okay.
And so you're bringing balance to their downside. So the moment you go to Mo and Mo is feeling down, your happiness is supposed to bring them up, and their downness is supposed to bring you down.
Yeah.
So that's where the balancing point comes in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why you always get married to someone that's your opposite, and that's why they frustrate you so much.
Because they are the exact opposite of how you perceive things and
Yes.
how perception works in your own mind.
Yes.
I see you. I see you. Look, man, how does one, because I find this very interesting, Mo.
Me too, man.
How does one then, because I could be wrong. In my experience, a lot of people, it's great that Mo brought it up.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence, right? A lot of people in society in general lack it so much, and our emotions tend to be contributors to how we perceive things and ultimately how we react to things based on our emotions, as opposed to detaching and being non-biased, like you mentioned, right? Being non-biased, detaching, and having, because you just mentioned something, having a bird's view of the scenario and the situation in itself, and seeing yourself in the third person ultimately and saying, how do I now not contribute my emotions to this and have an objective outlook on the situation? How does one achieve that level of emotional intelligence?
That's a great question. So
Yeah.
just as a disclaimer, you're never going to go without your emotions. You need them. Remember, we said that they are feedback factors, so you're
Yes.
always going to need them. So how you go about doing that is you have to internally bring balance to how you're feeling by asking yourself the contrasting questions. Because if you don't do that, then the external world will be the one to bring that balance.
Yeah.
So if you're perceiving imbalances within yourself, expressing this high emotion, then what will happen is the outside force is going to be there to do that. So you internally go in by asking yourself the contrasting questions. So at the end of the day, if let's say you had this great, terrific day, and you just leaving the studio like, wow, that was a really, really great session.
Yeah.
Everything went well. Everything went so nice, and
Yeah.
everything went so smooth. Then the question to ask yourself is, what are the drawbacks to things going well?
Yeah.
And then you start listing them down. That okay, so if things went really well, then it means that this is the aspect of when we're doing the show, we missed this aspect of the show. Perhaps there was this question that we didn't ask. Oh, okay, so what else was the drawbacks of things going really well? These are the points that I missed to learn. So you're like, oh, so once you bring that balance, then you're conscious of it. Then you're like, oh, okay, I've brought balance to that. Now the next day, you're not overly enthused of wanting to repeat the same day, right?
Yeah.
And the opposite of that happens as well. So if you had a really bad show, ask yourself, is what are the benefits that came out of having the bad show?
Yeah.
And you'll see the equal and opposite will be like, these are the things that I've learned.
These lessons
this
we've
is what
learned,
I've grown. And out of these lessons, how are then all these lessons tied into all the areas of my life?
Yeah.
I mean, we could go on a roundabout and I can take a single action and actually show you that single action impacts the whole area of your life, how it also impacts you as a society, then how that also brings balance to your community and this whole cosmic puzzle that you actually see.
Would then, more very quickly before you come in, would you say that it's beneficial to try and identify the drawbacks and the lessons that come with experiencing both sides of this contrast?
Yes.
Would you say it's very beneficial?
I would
Because
say-
someone would argue and say, look, I just want to stay on that good feeling state that I experienced with having a great show.
Yeah.
I don't want to consider what the drawbacks of having that great show is. It's fine, it works, I want to stay there. Because someone could argue that and say, no, Osvaldo, I don't want to go into it. I don't want to hear about it. I'm fine. I'm happy with the state.
Then that state is impossible for you to have that consistent state.
Yeah.
It's it's one of the things that I said, that perpetual contentment is impossible. But because you've been taught that you should be one-sided, that's where your frustrations will come from, because you're not getting that reality. Remember, we said that reality is comprised of equal and opposite contrast. So I've tried it. I mean, how many of us have tried to
We
be
have.
happy?
We have.
And at the end of the day, you can't be one-sided. You're
Yeah.
gonna be frustrated, and you see it when we say, okay, I want to go into a relationship for the main purpose of being happy.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, the moment you go into that relationship,
Yeah.
you're gonna experience both sides to that person.
Yeah.
So the moment you try to experience one side without the other, you're not holistically loving that person.
Yeah.
You're only being biased towards one side of that
Yeah.
person. What you're saying is, Mo, I only love you when you express this side of yourself. Don't express the other side. But true love is having the experience of both sides and integrating those
Multifaceted,
sides.
yeah.
And being in that state of unconditional love.
Yeah.
Yes, I love you unconditionally.
Yeah. Even in your bad states. Yeah.
Yes. And once that happens, then you don't react to when Mo is happy or when Mo is sad.
Yeah.
Now you're just experiencing Mo as Mo.
Yeah.
You're reflecting yourself in Mo because you're not biased towards, this is the one side that I want, I don't want that side. So now you're experiencing Mo fully because he comes with both pains and pleasures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love how you dissect it, because I want to bring the ball back,
Right.
because I think in townships there's a huge misconception about how are people going through. But what I want to bring in and what I want to just to merge it into one is what people are going through, and the train of thoughts, and you having to make that decision, a critical decision of saying, you know what, I have decided, I have felt bad, I have hit rock bottom, now it's time to end everything. How does one take that decision, that critical decision of saying, you know what, I've went through it all, happiness, sadness, all of the emotional state, I've went through them. We had people who are prominent in the industry. We had Patrick Shai, who took his life. Ricky Rick took his life, and recently we had Ebenezer Dibakwan, who was a comedian, who took his life. So I just want to understand, that chain of thoughts that just rumbles inside of them to make the critical decision and to say, you know what, I'm done, I'm taking my life. What is that, and what is happening in their mind?
Okay, that's a great question. I mean, we've all had suicidal thoughts
Yeah.
at some stage. It's just that some people go through with it and some people don't. So when you're in that state of suicide, you're being biased towards the pains. So you're perceiving that your life has more pains than pleasures, and you're disassociating the pleasures that your life has. So in other words, when you're in that state, you're also saying that I'm above feeling pain. So in other words, you're saying that I shouldn't feel pain, but you're supposed to feel pain. If you don't feel pain, you won't know that you're alive. So it's like touching that hot stove.
Yeah.
When you touch that hot stove, your senses come in to tell you, listen, this is your pain threshold. So when we're in that state of wanting to commit suicide, we're seeing that it's more beneficial to be dead than to be alive. So now we're saying that being in the state of being alive has these drawbacks. We've got 10,000 of whatever drawbacks it might be. It could be that those individuals went through a specific event, and within that event, they misperceived that event to say that there's more pains than pleasure in this because of that fantasy that they were holding on to, that I'm supposed to be in this state only. And if I'm not in this specific state, which is then the opposite, I could perhaps lose my social influence. I could lose my financial aspect of it. I could lose my mental state of it. But it could just be that could have also been the great reset that you needed to go through. And it's also vital that you understand your value structures, that throughout your life, your values also shift and change. Perhaps what was valuable for them could have been perhaps a relationship. And in that relationship, they perceived that they lost something. But remember when I said that reality is comprised of two things. You can never lose without gaining. So when you're in that state, it's beneficial for you to actually ask yourself, okay, whatever I'm going through, what are the benefits of what I'm going through? What is this teaching me in my whole aspect of life? What is the benefit of me going through what I'm going through? What's the benefit of perhaps losing the relationship that I most had? Okay, now it means I need to center myself. I need to concentrate on myself. What's the benefits of concentrating on yourself? It means now I'll spend less money on someone else and spend more money on myself. Perhaps you could then go into starting that different business that you want. And we see it. And Heraclitus, I mean, he's a phenomenal philosopher, or well, he was. And he said that the only thing that's consistent in life is actually change. Change is the only thing that's consistent. That we're in this continuous flux. That your whole life, what's true for you today, tomorrow could be something different. So you're always going to experience change. And what comes with change is those two sides. You have to have the pain and the pleasure of it. I mean, let's go back to Mo. Tell me, like, what's the one pain that you went through, like, as a child?
So as a child, I think one thing that I went through, I remember back in primary school when I've wanted so bad to be in the top 10 best student.
Right.
You know, so it happened that day I was not on the list, and I've lived with it for such a long time.
Right.
Yeah, I went through that pain such a long time, and till this day I can't forget what happened.
So let's go to that specific moment, and this is one of the greatest things about perception, is that the moment you change how you perceive something, you actually get to change the experience of it. So at that moment when you're not in the top 10, right? How did it then help you to develop your character, because you're not in the top 10?
Well, I think it spoke to how I want to become a better version of myself, you know, and not to always see this as my end goal. But now I saw that, okay, if there is a number of people that are chosen to be in this number, rather let me build an environment that is going to work for me and create an energy that is going to be always positive. Yes, positive and negative, but grow within that environment.
Right. So now let's take that very same event that happened in your life, that specific moment. How's that helping you today in your career in terms of building the environment that you want?
Vastly, and abroad, if I can put it like that, because now I am seeing the benefit of, you know, helping the next person, you know, travel the same journey as I have, and to where I am, it has helped me to make better decisions and not always to see the outcome as something that defines who I am.
Right. So now, would you want to change that event?
No.
Right. So now, what's your pain threshold compared to that event?
It's raised, I'm sure,
Right.
because you've gone through that, you've felt it, and it's like, if that happens again, it won't affect me.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah, you've been there, done that, and man, not that it wouldn't hurt, but it wouldn't have the same effect on me as it did when it happened the first time around initially. I love that. So let me ask you, man, across, would you, or rather, are there triggers, you know, to that come into play when dealing with someone with mental health issues, or if there are they standard and objective across the board, or do they differ from disorder to disorder, or from individual to individual? How does that whole thing work?
It differs from individual, because remember, we're all perceiving the world differently. So we're perceiving the world through the spectrum of what we value most. So if I value playing soccer, and my mother tells me, well, you have to be inside the house by 3:00 because you have to go and study so you can do well at school. So those two value systems are different, two very different value systems. And the perception on that then is different. How you perceive it and how he perceives it is very different. I could perceive at that moment that my mother telling me to go inside the house by 3 o'clock and not go play soccer, that's a pain for me because I'm perceiving that it goes against my values, right? Then I lash out to my mom and be like, listen, no, I'm not going to do that. So what do? I disobey and then I carry on playing soccer, so I become defiant. And then she sees that defiance as, no, this person is being naughty, this person is not listening to me. Because we're not seeing how those values are serving us. So him being disobedient is the label that she's putting on him. So that label now becomes no, he's a disobedient child. And because I'm seeing that this is a disobedient child, is because he went against my values. But then should that child, the same child, be like, okay, this is how I'm going to structure my day. I'm going to play soccer from 2 until 2:30, and then I'm going to be home by 3 o'clock. Then the label then changes and becomes, no, this is not a disobedient child. It's a child that listens. That's because the child is doing the things that the mother's perceiving
As valuable.
Because he's speaking in terms of her values. But you need those two contrasting values. So the moment you're able to understand, okay, this is what you value most, and I'm able to speak in those values, and I'm able to then show you how everything that's happening around you is helping you in your top values, then your perception of what's going on changes. Then the disorder then dissolves. Then you're able to then go to the next level of pains and pleasures. You see, so that's why I always say that you have to be very careful about the labels that you place on people and yourself, because the label doesn't speak to the essence of who that person is. And once you start to understand human behavior, once you understand the essence of who we are, you'll see that no, we are above these labels, because these labels dissolve over time.
With that being said, would you say that perception is to an extent, again, and it goes back to projection, would you say that perception is largely influenced by perception?
Yes, it is, because what
by projection, sorry.
Yes, it is, because you're taking an event and you're projecting your perception of that event onto that event,
the next person,
onto the next person. So you're doing what you're separating cause and effect from it. So now you're saying this is an external thing that's happening to me, and therefore Mo is the reason why I'm feeling this way. So I'm giving power to Mo to detect how I feel. But if I go in and I perceive and be like, no, this is Mo reacting this way is a projection of how I also react in different situations. So Mo is a reflective conscious or a reflective mirror that's telling me I also have this in my own life. So when the mother labels the child as being disobedient, it's because somewhere in the mother's life, she also has the same trait of being disobedient somewhere. So because she hasn't loved and appreciated the disobedient part, she will try to project it and say, no, you have to stop being disobedient. It's wrong. But if she goes in, sees the history of her life, and be like, okay, this is when I was disobedient.
Myself,
This is how it helped me. This is how it helped other people. You're like, oh, okay, well, the label now dissolves. When the child is doing what the child is doing, now the perception is no, the child is just expressing what they want to express.
Still in conversation right here with Osvaldo, speaking more of mental health. If you have any question, do make sure that you use the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show to ask your question, anything regarding mental health. You had a scenario, a situation, or a friend who might be going through some mental health issues and you want to address it here. Mr. Osvaldo is here to answer all of your questions. So what we're going to do right now is to take a short break, and then when we come back, we're going to continue and conclude with our conversation right here. All right, 26 minutes past 9. It is the time, and you're still watching your energetic start of the day. And speaking of energy, today we have a very interesting subject that we need to speak about. Today we have Osvaldo once again in studio, taking us through mental health issues that mostly, like most people, face in their daily life. So hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show is the hashtag to use right here. So, Mr. Osvaldo, I think this is a subject that I have went through. I don't know if you do have an answer for it, because there was an illustration that was used. So, do you think there's a difference between, or can you find a distinction between the mind and the brain?
Yes, actually, yeah. So
Is there?
Yeah, because the brain is a representative of it's like the material aspect of your whole body. So if we go into the brain, what the brain is there to help us do is to tell us, okay, what's going on inside this person? Where are the different neurons firing from? Where are you, what are the thought processes within your brain? How does the brain then function in terms of making certain decisions? And in the brain, it's these signals that are happening that's connected to the body. Whereas the mind, it's this thing where we actually don't know what the mind really is. We don't know where it's located. We don't know how it works. Some philosophers and theologians have said that the mind is actually the soul of the human being. So it's that expression of the soul. So it's expression itself through the mind. But we do know two things about the mind. One is you receive ideas and then you give out ideas. And when you receive and give out these ideas, that's like a form of expression that's going on. Although we don't know where the mind really is.
Because an illustration, Musi, that I have, got and have seen is that. So a question was asked that, okay, if a music is being composed,
right?
Who composed the music? Because now it comes as this thing. Now we have to identify the differences between the brain and the mind. So for you to make music, you need to start having those thoughts first on how it is going to sound, how, all of those instruments are going to be used. Then there are instruments that you use.
Right.
So
the
brain is the piano, and then the mind is what goes in there. So it goes hand in hand with what you take out through, comes back to what you have, produced in your brain. So it's quite confusing, I know, but I still want to understand, okay, if I press something, is it my mind or my brain? Does my mind help me to function, or my brain helps me to function?
Your mind is sending signals to your brain to do something, and then the body is then reacting. Because when you remove certain parts of the brain, certain parts of your body stop functioning. But it's not that you don't have those thoughts. Those thoughts are still there. So they're still stored there. It's just that now the brain doesn't have the capacity to send out signals to the body to do specific things. That's why you see, who was that guy that was on a wheelchair, the scientist who used to talk with the computer?
Hawkins.
Yes.
Stephen Hawkins.
Stephen Hawkins. So we could still interpret his thoughts, although his body movements were not there. So the thoughts are still there, they're still running there, and it's still being expressed. It's just that in the physical aspect, that expression is not coming through.
Let me ask you, man, Osvaldo, because at the beginning of the year, Mo, I think I've shared the story. And I met this lady randomly. So I was out with a friend, and we were just hanging out and having food and snacks and things of that sort. And she comes up and she asks to hang out with us, right? And we spend some time with her, and we start talking about different conversations and things of that sort. And we got to the conversation of, what is, I guess, described as people who are unstable.
Right.
I don't want to say the words mad or crazy, but people who are slightly unstable, right, and don't have the same perceptions that we have, and and the mental difficulties in life. So she's like, she poses a question to me and says, Musi, what if we have it wrong as individuals in society, and that these people are functioning and are vibrating on a different plane than that we perceive, right? And that what we perceive as normal and as right and as going about our normal lives on a day-to-day basis, they might not be seeing it that way. And they have small moments here and there where they come back to this reality and come back to this plane and then go back to what they perceive as normal, right? So would you say that that's something that maybe we can look into and is a viable thing, actually?
Yeah, I agree with it.
Yeah.
That it is a viable thing because we don't have the full picture. So it's sort of like when you look at actuality and then reality. So reality is just a small subset of what is actually there. So for example, right now, everything that could happen and will happen is actually happening right now at this very moment.
Wow.
Right? But then we, with our capacities, we can't interpret all of that.
Yeah.
So what we do have, we can only interpret through our awareness is we can only experience the reality within this room. So this reality that we're experiencing is that awareness that we have. Right. So now, because we're experiencing that awareness, we don't have the full actual picture. But in actual fact, all these things are playing out together to make this whole picture. Right. So the people who could be in mental institutes, we don't have the full grasp of what's really going on. And when you look at it, and the crazy thing about studying philosophy is that sometimes it can even take you to that crazy mental institute because Rene Descartes, in his philosophy, he posed the question that how do you know that you are where you are? You could be dreaming right now, but you don't know it. So how we know that you're not dreaming is because through your senses, you're saying, wow, I'm touching this desk. So therefore, I'm in this room. I'm seeing this person. I can touch him. I can feel his heat. I can.
This is consciousness, active consciousness.
This is not active consciousness. But the reality is, with his question is, how do you really know where you are?
Mr. Osvaldo, it was nice having a great conversation. And I know that it won't,
it can't end because I still have so much. I still have so many questions, man. But, whenever you're here, Osvaldo, you always share so much knowledge and information, and it gets intriguing to a point where we don't want it to end, and because this is also what we aim for here on the Vooka Breakfast Show is to shed so much light and information and give knowledge as much as we can, especially to try and break down all these misconceptions that we have in life, right? And most of us, like I said off camera, we were having a conversation with Osvaldo that a lot of us struggle with practicing and executing complete objectivity, and these are some of the tools that Osvaldo was trying to equip us with to go on about and try to implement them as we go on with our day-to-day lives. But we cannot end if we were up to us, me and Mo, we would go on with this conversation till the sun sets. But when you're having fun, time flies, as they say.
It does fly.
As Osvaldo has agreed to come back again today, we are hoping that someday again, very soon, we can have another sit down and maybe have a part 2 of this conversation and shed more light. Try to distinguish the differences between normal stress and having a mental disorder. Do you get what I'm trying to say? This is something that someone out there could be struggling and battling with, trying to distinguish and identify: is this normal stress that I'm feeling, or am I someone who's actually, having a mental disorder? So you can of course engage with us across all our social media platforms using the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show and ask your questions. Man, we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts and experiences and your opinions and everything else in between with regards to issues of mental health. And of course, we'll always post them and forward them to Osvaldo so that he can shed more light with us and we can get deep into this conversation about mental health issues.
Definitely.
Yes,
Before we let you go, Mr. Osvaldo, quick 3 fire questions. I need you to be quick on this one. The first one is a favorite mental health book or podcast.
I always go back to the Breakthrough Experience. That book has so much in it. It's save you time and money on
Breakthrough Experience.
Yeah, the Breakthrough Experience.
All right. Best advice for someone struggling with anxiety.
Well, see how anxiety is serving you, and it's part of it, and go in and delve deep and see how it's benefiting you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then the last one, if you could have any superpower to help people with mental health, what would it be?
It's the power to give people the ability to ask themselves the right questions.
Ooh. Relentless.
Yeah.
Relentless.
Yeah, man. Such amazing stuff, Mo. Sheesh, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much, by the way, for coming. And we hope to see you next time and to dive deep, because we know that mental issues, especially right here in townships, it's something that is sensitive and is not brought up as a subject that we can live with through daily, so that we can improve ourselves.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. That was the one and only Osvaldo Naka right here, taking us through about mental health and how we can navigate it through our lives. So what we're going to do right now is to take a short break, and then when we come back, it is a Comedy Wednesdays, man, because you know that laughter, it is the best medicine. We have Theo the Biggie Jagalas is right here and is going to join us. So stay tuned, do not go anywhere. All right, 20 minutes till we hit 10 o'clock, and you're still watching the Vooka Breakfast Show. And the hashtag to use is hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show to comment down below, because now it is the time. It is the time for laughter. It is the time to stretch those mouths, because we've got Jagalas and he's just joined us here on the table just to get through, man, his, comedy journey. As a comedian, what has he experienced? And of course, man, I can see that your people are coming in, and I love it. Get in the conversation with us, because it is going to be massive. So I have a bitter thought. Let's go. I have a bitter thought again. Jagalas. But once again, introducing him, the one and only Theo the Biggie Jagalas. Good morning, my brother, and how are you doing this morning, man?
I'm good, and you, my brother?
I am very good, man. I'm excited that you are here, because each and every Wednesday, man, we do the most by bringing our comedians right here in studio.
Yeah.
So, of course, I can see people can't wait, man, just to hear you and your thoughts on what is going on, right now with you. But just walk me through, man. Who is Theo the Biggie Jagalas? I mean, you have so many names, by the way.
Last name is Jagalas, middle name is the Biggie, first name is Theo.
Okay, it's Theo the Big underscore Chagala so Lamazinyani Skoras Gashiposhi. Uneso Petty Pez. Theo is my middle name.
Okay.
I used to hate that name growing up.
Okay.
Because the whole name is Theophilus. So there was a point where you would get teased with your middle name.
Okay.
So I hated it. So I was using my name Letlonolo for my whole life. But then I started comedy. So I started using my middle name, Theo, for stage. Then the Begi is my surname. My surname Kimugotla.
Okay.
So the Begi.
Oh.
Nice transition on that one.
And then Jagalas is a nickname that I was given to by my great-grandfather.
Why Jagalas though?
He used to call me Jagalas Odlamazinyan because I was very naughty as a child. So being Hlupa.
Yeah.
So they gave me Jagalas.
Yeah.
Jagalas Odlupai. And then I just merged all of them to become Theo the Begi.
The Peggy Chagalas. Oh, interesting, man. So I know, man, that a lot of people are asking themselves, okay, as much as people are in the comedy industry, how does one get to that, man? And just walk us through, before, man, you went in. How did it come about, the journey?
It's a very short journey because I just started comedy. 1 year in.
1 year?
1 year
Wow.
in. Yeah.
Okay.
The disappointment in your face.
Because I'm like, what? 1 year?
1 year in, bro. So I started comedy last year, February. Yeah. So I've been working my whole life, but then I had this thing that was biting me.
Yeah.
Because so I thought, why not just do this formally? So I was watching PNC one time. And I went to a comedy show and I was like, you know what, I can do this thing.
Wow.
And then I went and I asked for a 5-minute spot. It's not as easy.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. Standing in front of people and they're all looking at you at the same time. And then they blink at the same time. And you're like, hi, boo. And then the voice doesn't come out.
What?
That was my first, choke. That was my first time on stage. And then you go back.
Okay.
You go back, you build the muscle. Then before you know it, you ease into it. And then before you know it, you're in Vooka Breakfast Show.
Yay! Definitely, man. Blessing us with your presence right here. So, you walk into the stage. It's your first time. Just walk me through. What is going on in your mind? Do you want to impress or you just doing this because I love it?
Comedy is easy when you are standing in front of people that you know.
Oh.
Because you know them.
Yeah.
It's something else when you're standing in front of strangers. Because you may say one thing that may upset someone.
Yeah.
And then your set is just done. But you need to get them back.
Yeah.
Try and get them back. There are people like Heads who just say the most controversial thing.
Yeah.
And then win them back. That's a skill that you develop over the years.
Oh.
So with my first time, I jumped on. Luckily, my girlfriend was there.
Ooh, nice.
So I was just looking at someone I know. Then I just forgot about everyone else. But it went well, like 3 minutes. And I came out and said, you know what? That was not bad. Okay. And I said, I'm going to do it again. And I've been doing it again every week, at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
You're on stage.
Yeah.
Then you get better. Then you meet other people. Then you get to meet up people like Abo Zico, Abo Choltak and Handsome, who will guide you. So the mumnandi but to shotala. Umnandi marabambala. Yabona leya yenze so.
Yeah.
You go back again, it becomes better.
Yeah.
It becomes better. Then just comedy so far. That's my journey so far up until here.
For somebody who literally started only last year, it seems like your whole journey through comedy is 10 years in a year, because you've managed to grow yourself so much and have also managed to nurture and also grow your craft. So your material, what's the inspiration behind it?
I spend a lot of time alone.
Okay.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time alone.
Introvert.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking to myself.
Marajola yang really one.
What?
As in. So I spend a lot of time alone.
Yeah.
And I write a lot. I write my thoughts. And sometimes you just, provoke, or what's the word? You poke on your thoughts.
Okay.
And something funny will pop up.
Yeah.
Then you just write it down. You try it on stage, it doesn't work, shelve it. Try again, it doesn't work, shelve it.
Wow.
Try again, it works. And then when it works, sometimes it brings the other two back. Now you just have a nice segue, and then you just have a nice set, and then all those things culminate and come together to make one nice set. So every time you have a funny thought, write it down. It doesn't work, shelve it. It doesn't work, shelve it, but something will pop up. When it does, it all comes together.
I didn't know who Rabantu Kwarana they write, man. Because I thought when I just look at something, you're like, oh, that one.
Yeah.
But like, walk me through that, man.
That's called crowd work.
Crowd work.
Yeah, so crowd work, you go in, and in a comedy show, there's always going to be somebody doing something funny. And that's why. And those people like to sit in front. For some reason, they come early and you're like, and then.
That's why I sit at the back at Natives.
Okay, but we can see you.
I'm outside, not inside, outside.
And you were the one wearing funny stuff.
I never, Mina. It was a skirt.
So it was you.
Yeah.
So crowd work, so somebody who's just who's asking to make being fun of. But it's not malice, man. It's just to get the crowd going.
Yeah.
Then after that, so that the next comic can ease into it. Because when the audience is nice, you know, all comedians have a good time.
Yeah.
But when the audience is hard, bro.
Yeah.
But in there, you joke becomes a speech.
Yeah, so how do you control that, man? Because okay, are you in a state or okay, hey, organizer, take me out of the stage, or you just feel composed and then you know what? You trust yourself and you trust the process.
You die on your sword, bro. You have to die on your sword. If you prepared 5 minutes, do your 5.
Yeah.
If you prepared 15, just die on your sword. Because you need, because dying on stage is actually not a bad thing.
Okay.
It's not a bad thing. You know, I always say you either die, chuckle, or kill. Die,
chuckle, or kill.
Yeah, you die. Chuckle, you get those here and there. Kill is, you know.
Yeah.
But dying is not bad. You know, dying for me is a draw. You know, you win, lose, or draw.
Hey.
So when you die, it's a draw. It's not a loss.
Yeah.
You can come back, do the same set, and you can win. Maybe the crowd just didn't receive that one.
Yeah. And then I have Tembeli Klamota Ardankidaso. Do make sure that you guys use the hashtag Vooka Breakfast Show. Still in conversation with the one and only Theo, the Peggy Jagalase. We're still in conversation. And if you're watching, do make sure that you press the subscription button, the notification button, so that whenever we go live and bring you segments like this one, which is Comedy Wednesdays, you are notified and you join us as we have the biggest laughter. So going back to the interview, man, I don't know if Ukwarana and there are types of comedies, you know, whereby when you are more like structured, you are serious, you deal with those jokes that are well constructed, and you end up developing your crowd. What would you say, Urwena, like, do you have your crowd? If they can call you to a show, maybe there are like corporate people like, I don't do corporate thing.
So my comedy is, you know, rest in peace, Eb. Eb once said I do. It's called it's like off ramp, like side comedy. It's not like straight. It's because I have a joke about Harry Potter. I have a Harry Potter joke that did okay.
Hit me with that one.
It's a long one.
You see, you're wearing the glasses of Wizard of Oz.
We have the time.
And these jokes ain't free.
Okay.
So it's side comedy.
Yeah.
So basically, I speak like 4 or 5 languages. So Ekasi, I can rock. And then in the burbs, I rock a lot.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's something, just a smart thought.
Yeah.
And then you just go through that thought. Because even that Harry Potter joke, it was a contrast between my love for Harry and Nekas.
Yeah.
So I just took those two, put them together, then made that joke. So I write a lot of those complex stuff.
Yeah.
And then you try them, and sometimes they don't work. Sometimes they don't work, but it doesn't mean they're not funny.
Yeah.
But sometimes Mosekasi, you just do those jokes that people relate to, because comedy is it's just relatable. You need to be relatable so that people can understand what you're saying, and then you need to make fun of that.
Yeah.
Then if they can find the funny, then you are funny. But if they don't, it does not mean you are not.
Yeah.
It just means it was just a miss. It's a
Yeah.
draw. It's not a loss.
Yeah, because I'm trying to process, man, the joke with Harry Potter. What comes to my mind is the expecto patronum. But now, obviously, maybe to fly around
Get to
and
your
things like
aviation.
that. Yeah.
Expecto Patronum is a charm that he uses to evoke a symbol of hope. We call that the South African Police Service.
And then what do we call Lingavian Leviosa?
Lingadium Leviosa is a levitation spell.
Yeah.
We call that the Tsetse fly.
Tsetse
fly. There was a dance back then, it's a fly.
So that's the contrasting between the spells, because that's basically how the joke was. Just a spell, then I just give it I explain it in Venek.
Yeah. Okay. So now we know that obviously in the comedic space, I think I have Ulo was, sitting right here and giving appreciation to Uziko, by calling him. So when do you have those comedic, influences that have played a very huge role?
Of course. Zico is one of them.
Okay.
Zico used to run a club called a Tavern in Maponya Mall every Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's an award-nominated house room. And then there's Toltak and Handsome Mhlesto. He runs Native Rebels every last Thursday. Gave me a spot there. Yeah, it's become my second home.
Yeah.
I'm at the Bioscope Sunday every Sunday with Titi Chumia and Shanre van Wyk, Pop-Ups, Chabi Somhlongo. Very funny guys.
Yeah.
Mondays we have Sixers in Melville with Tendo, Ray Duploy, Aiden Ho, Ntlanhla Shabangu, and a whole lot of people come on Monday.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday, I think it's Baba Black Ship in Rosebank with Stig. Wednesday, there's like 3 gigs today. It's one in Bryanston, the King's Crawl, very classy place. There's one in Maboneng, run by Baxter, and there's another one, Kitcheners in Bramfontein.
Yeah.
Very nice spot. This Thursday is Hlesto's Native Rebels.
Yeah.
And then Friday, I'm not sure what's on Friday, but there's gigs every single day.
Yeah.
So if you follow your favorite comics, you'll just check where they are during the week.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Sixers does comedy.
On a Monday,
Yeah, I've always known Sixers is just like one of those upmarket shindigs that you probably go to in Melville, just have like a nice cocktail there. And then King's Krell, I've known it for some of the performances. Like Abo Kushmashega, I have performed there. I didn't even know that they have comedy there
Comedy
too.
on a Wednesday.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Interesting. So right now, man, just to sum it up and make it understanding, because right now we're trying to know you as Uthio. So I've had people who are, hey, if you want to be a comedian, my friend, you don't need to have a matric certificate. But now take me back to how you grew up, because Bosho Pavel, that's why So just take me through, how you grew up and people that you surrounded yourself with and end up being where you are today.
I grew up in Pineville, like Soweto, born and raised.
Yeah.
I went to school at Winnie. Then I went to Musi High.
Went to where?
Musi High.
Musi High.
Yeah.
Musi Naniska High School.
Where is Musi High? In Pineville?
That's our principal. That's our principal. Found. So I went to Musi, and then after Musi, then I went and I did nursing. Yeah.
Nursing?
Yeah.
Where?
Chris Annette Barra. So I did nursing. So I'm a nurse currently.
Wow.
Then I have a lot of things, like I got 4 jobs, bro.
You're a nurse.
Yeah, I nurse from 7 until 4.
Oh, you're a nurse, actually.
Wow.
A male nurse, a
Male
nurse.
nurse from 7 until 4. I run a business from 4 until 8.
Okay.
And then I'm at comedy from 8 until 10.
Wait, what type of business do you run?
I sell a lot of things. I sell acha, I sell chargers, I sell key holders.
Oh, nka bo re tletsele acha. It's in barata acha ya mo.
It's in the car.
That's a
On the
real
go.
It's in
entrepreneur.
the car.
Yeah.
So I
that's-
sell all of those things just to supplement because comedy is expensive.
Yeah.
Going to these gigs every day, it's scarce.
Yeah.
So at least when I'm at comedy, I can make a little 120 there, poor gas, come back home. Then I go to work tomorrow, then the process
Yeah.
starts again. So you have to find a way in which you can get to comedy because
Yeah.
it's not paying. It's not paying, but we do it for the love of the game.
Yeah.
Hey,
And-
but I
and-
bet you like one of the coolest mercers your patients have ever had. I bet you cracked them up.
The thing is, because now I want to ask Hore, and like in terms of exclusiveness, like man, being a nurse, comedian, we're not quality patient.
Every day.
I can imagine.
Every day. And because now bagqoke ezinye izinto siswami. Ngempela.
So you don't have one of those fellow those fellow nurses who just have eyebrows that ain't
No
fleeking
way.
nowhere. Because I know the eyebrows, especially man as a para.
Yeah.
Ama-eyebrow khona jo.
They
Ngathi
used to.
abasebenza eShoprite.
They used
To then
Bayeka.
ngaqala ke then but I low yapeta lona. Now they're all on fleek. So I made sure.
Yeah, man. So, like, have you ever written something about where you work and just throw it out where you are performing?
Not really, eh? Not really. I haven't found the funny yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but remember it's 1 year in.
So you're still digging.
So I'm still digging. It'll come.
Shebile di doctor mola ntsa kwala di prescription or oh yeah, no one day material.
One day.
Because
One
man,
day.
like patients are funny, you
Yeah.
know, because when you get into the emergency room, people, they are loud, people are screaming, and and plus you are a nurse. Do they know your name, or do you call yourself Jagalas where you work?
Oh
Or-
no.
I'm just seeing you Jagala. Jagala sexy.
Can't be.
Oh shakala ngijaba kabuhlungu phela.
Right, so yeah, man, I can see that you juggling so many things, and now obviously it's time and balance. So, which like when it comes to allocating the time, which one do you give the most? Do you give comedy, business, or the job that you do?
It's job because job is 8 hours.
Okay.
So you have to be there. Unigumlung 8 hours yake.
Yeah.
And then you have to juggle these other ones. So at least if you are going to comedy, I carry the stock to comedy.
Yeah.
So I just sell it there.
Ooh.
Yebo.
Yeah.
Babaphuma baqeda ukuhlekisa abantu nje njengani phela. Ngizokwazi ukubuyela ekhaya. Njengani ngizokwazi ukubuyela ekhaya. So a lot of them have my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a really nice way to actually, sell yourself to the people, because we know that we need to embed ourselves with the personality that we have. But now, like, okay, you just made, you just come out of a show and then we buy your archer. I mean, it serves as a souvenir for me. It's
Actually.
like to remember good time, man. This guy, umnandi. So,
Njenge
Nguphe
archer.
sinkweni.
yeah.
Wow. Mnandi njenge archer yakhe.
So, what's the worst joke you've ever told and no one had laughed, man?
A couple. A couple. It was a gay joke.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe I should tell this, but
Please.
so again, there's 7. It's LGBTQI
Yeah.
plus,
Yeah.
but there's 2 toilets at the mall. Laba abanye bazoyaphi?
Wow.
Then you fight this.
Bro, there was dead silence, bro.
And they could because you already gated the table, so for them it was like personal that I was trying like way. Someone after school.
There was dead silence.
Yeah.
But bazoyaphi vele?
Ngoba yi-2. 7.
So that was my worst joke, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you someone who can create a joke on the spot, or you need some time to craft, your jokes, take some time and process them so that you can deliver them to people?
Some you can make on the spot.
Yeah.
Some you can make while you're sitting at home. You can just be driving and you see something funny, and then you interrogate that.
Yeah.
And then as you interrogate that, things start adding on because the comics mind works in that way.
Yeah.
You know, maloku hamba, ubhekele icathulo, ubhekele ibhuku, I want this keeper sinjani. Oh, I thought so. Gqoke nesigqoko esibheda, and then you uzibuza ukuthi but lo muntu lona makanga. You know, so all these things start to add up on the spot.
Yeah.
Sometimes as you're sitting and you saw that outfit, and then you're sitting at home, and then you start to interrogate socially one, then you can dissect.
Yeah.
So you can make on the spot, you can write it down, you can construct from maybe something that you read, something that you heard, something that you see. So comics mind just works, you know. But sometimes we go overboard as comedians and we don't read the room, you know, because just now in your time by Bambinguns, so we were chilling, and then when we left by Amkaputagiwe, Maba figure about the Kingling, he just became sober same time. Shy gone. So I am finished. But by Bambinguns, I was very sober same time. So when you come back now, people are still in trauma. And then when you're in comic mode, it was so too soon. Not yet, bro.
Too soon.
The trauma, then after that, then you have a balance. But when I as a comic, you lands and you're in lancing mode every time. So sometimes you just need to read the room, you know, and just don't go overboard.
Yes. I'm just imagining ukuthi kwenzakaleni because speaking of that sometimes you find comedians fighting with, you know, a crowd, you know, because the reason I asked the question here on the spot, sometimes umuntu when they have to think on their feet they choose someone and then somebody aphaka ngayi jakalazi ngazongijwayela. Have you ever found yourself in those situations whereby ulwisa umuntu osecrowdini umuntu ohlangana naye estradini?
It's called heckling.
Okay.
And they are hecklers.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're busy with your set and then maybe they're drunk and then they stand up and then start talking back. So you need to have those fire ones. But this one brought their own jokes. You have to have fire ones, and then and sometimes the heckler can actually make your set because as they're heckling, they say something, and then you say it back, and then people laugh at them, and then that's when the momentum starts to. But also that goes with experience and time because sometimes you are just focused on your set, and when somebody says something, you lose the train of thought, and then so you're cautious.
Yeah, because I've seen that at Native Rebels. Also, sometimes Native ang your toilet.
Yeah.
Because immediately once you stand up, my guy, target.
It's not good for your blood.
It's not good for your blood. Standing up or somebody's doing a sit, we just know that you are just gonna be there. Because once they start doing this, I get to the focus on everybody else, and then just cheer. Now they lose their focus on all of those people and start focusing on you.
But it goes back to what Lo has said last week. So Uguti, whenever you go to a comedian show, just know Uguti, these situations, it may happen, yes, and let's laugh, man.
Have an open mind, and don't stand up during the set.
I don't.
Yeah, but when they say, "That's my time, welcome back on stage," then that's when you go. Get toilet. But uzopuma.
Mangiphuma ngimalapha ngijazi ukuthi natives inokhonanyana toilet akhona.
Ngeke forever.
Bro, I stand there until the set is done. Trust me, I don't move. I know how y'all are. Y'all are savage of natives.
Ngithi ngiyambona
Yes, afuthi kusasa, yimnani kusasa.
Sabesifuna wena.
I'll be there tomorrow. I'm coming vele, but I
ugqoke kahle.
ngeke nginya thuphisa kamasola sayidweni.
Yeah, and speaking of, Ugumbona, and then I have Utembeli Jamota. Don't forget Native Rebel on the 27th for more comedy. And then Lloyd DJ calls at Bochagada. And then I have Fanela Mandel, Ari King. The king is in the house. And any question in Buzayo Naman? What is the secret, man, to making people laugh?
It's cadence.
Okay.
There are comics who just stand on stage and just talk, and people laugh. That's their cadence. That's how they deliver. It's just delivery. There are people who are animated, jump stage, and they get your attention. So abantu abafana. And it's mostly it's the material and how you deliver. If you can deliver your material kahle, like Oscar just stands one place, Bazalwan, and people are dead. People are dead. Other comics, they jump. They are moving. They're taking the whole stage. You know, they're getting your attention because people need to listen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like Celeste with the unfiltered comics. Those ones are raw and rough.
Aye.
Jokes like Celeste, bro. No.
Lapo, you don't stand up.
You don't stand up at all. The savage you'll receive.
Yeah.
Don't.
It's hectic.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of preparing for a show, do you have like weird habits that you use? Maybe you're at the backstage and you're about to come out, or you're just a normal person to say, no, I'm prepared. Let me just go on the stage and deliver.
No, it's very interesting that Osvaldo was here and talking about mental health.
Yeah.
You know, I am a very shy person. So before I jump on, I sit in my little corner and I just go through my set.
Yeah.
I'm zoning in. You know, most comics are like that, you know, especially when you're doing your one-man show or you are just new in comedy. Just stand in one corner, just go through your set, go through all the key points.
Yeah.
And then when they call your name, it's showtime. Then whatever you forgot. You'll do it next time.
Have you ever forgot something that you prepared?
Yeah.
And then how did you respond to that?
I was so angry with myself, bro. And it was the funniest part that I forgot. And you can't go back and say, correction, wait. Next time.
Interesting, man. So, what's the best or worst you have seen recently? Because we know that there's comedy, and there's now the recent comedy. So, when for you, between the lines, what's the best that you have seen? Because we know that there's that comedy Akdala, we know how they were delivering it to the crowd. You know, we have your who can we name as someone who is those comedy back then that we used to watch?
Loyisokola, David Gao. You also have your who's the white guy who stands in a very weird pose?
Like Bernie Mac?
Yeah, Benny Mac, those kind of Cat Williams, Steve Harvey, and now coming to today. Do you think that the best has happened compared to what was happening back then?
I think the best is still happening.
Okay.
The Bernie Macs at their time, they're one of the original kings of comedy. That was funny.
Yeah.
You know, and then Abu Loy are still playing, Abu David are still playing, they're still relevant. You know, you still go and watch as like now going to Chrome comedy show Yama Khotman with all the old doctors.
Yeah, your tallest Mo, Loyisokola, your Nenabo David Gao. It's coming up on the 27th, 28th, and the 29th. So.
Excellent, that's the one. So Yama Khotman are still playing, they're still relevant, and they've bunny crowd, Joe. You would be surprised when you get there. You see young people, old people, all having a good time.
Yeah, actually, chakalaka.
So wow. so I'm saying the best is still happening.
Yeah,
you know, comedy is alive. Ekasi, comedy is alive in Gauteng. It happens a lot in Cape Town.
Yeah,
but Nanga Ekasi, we just pushing.
Yeah, and then what's your take on that, man? On the recent one?
Joe.
Yeah.
You know, the English side, the Venek side. Yeah. Sometimes we even meet at those award shows, and you know, Koketso Hutamo was on the thing now on the Savannah Choice Comics Choice Awards. He's nominated. Aucha most of them are from Cape Town. It's fine.
Okay.
So you know, there are these things that happen every year that makes you as a comedian to work towards.
Yeah.
You know, at least mangas tolangida. At least it gives you that step, which I'm doing something as much as angatoli mali from your owner, but there is recognition.
Yeah.
Okay, so far in the comedic space that we have in SA, do you think that comedians are getting enough exposure compared to like your musicians, your singers, your rappers? Because comedy is also an art by itself. Because in order for you to even make somebody laugh, you need to nurture and nourish your craft. So do you think comedians in this day and age are still getting enough exposure and are being acknowledged for the amazing work they do?
Yeah, I think they do. They do, because now we're with the digital space, we're in the social media thing.
Okay.
You know, they can push themselves on the socials, unlike before, where we had banners. Remember that banner Paliwe, Mama Kamama Kulu, and many more.
You?
So I'm still many more. So they're pushing themselves on, but also it takes time. You know, the people have been doing comedy for 20 years.
Yeah.
From the Pure Monati days until now. So those people obviously have a big following. And then for us, small ones, you have your 58 followers, your 3 likes.
Yeah.
Fun. Fun, but you're just building to that because now check out on your algorithms, you see it, okay, this video did like 11,000 views. Okay. 3 comments, 5 likes. Oh well. But fun.
Yeah.
At least there's people who saw your thing.
Yeah.
And if you are good, then they will start following.
Yeah.
And then the following will come. But it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time
To build that. Yeah, I can see, man. Speaking of followers, man, I have some people, obviously, that are your followers, man, on YouTube. I have a Big Daddy C, Artakop Jaga Jaga. And then I have a Tiseto Precious Mokota and Pinchiami doing big things.
My little sister.
That's your little sister. Shout out to the little sister,
the
man,
one we had
for
to play
watching.
over the weekend. I
she's
saw
an
the
actress.
status.
That's a
Amazing.
nice one, man. Thank you so much, DC. So Big Bro is here, man, giving us the vibes, and we enjoy being with him here. And then Mpontati, a nice one, Chagalas. I'm proud of you, bro. Keep pushing, man. Keep pushing. And then Balele Mniyar, I want Archer. Manele, your Archer is here, man. Your Archer is here. Kulumizinto is shishisayo.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Do ikhona i-arch ihlele emotweni khuluma into ehambayo esirasumela i-EFT sokuthengela i-arch.
Yeah.
So this is Untate, I met my girlfriend at his house.
What?
Yeah, so long invite endlini yakho ngiyashela. Ngiyadlala.
Like invite you, Ashela.
I can see her saying, wow.
Okay, next time I remember it like la ko ntlo go
Ne?
strateng.
O ska bona batho,
O sa bona batho cause
So Mjaga Jaga, tell me about the experience that you've had in the comedy industry in terms of those who have made it, and now when they look back, they're like, Bafet, I'm now focusing on that. Have you ever had that experience, or do you know someone who has went through that? Guti Samba Sonke, we are attending Samba Mataven Sonke, go through Native Rebel Sonke. The next thing you make it big. But now, when you host shows, you don't consider us, you don't call us anymore, you don't text us anymore. You're no longer that guy.
In the year that I've been doing comedy, luckily I've been rolling with usually the same people. Abo Toltak and Handsome and Abo Mjigijelo, Abo Law. I see them a lot. But Maupopo popile kao.
yeah, that's true.
Maupopo popile. And sometimes, we expect people to start pouring into our cups while our cups are still half. So miye kukau ahamba yodlala khona. Ayenze le mela into ayenze, then uzobuya uzostonsa. Because now masoqala in the next step now ntwana manje but ntwana namnyangena no yabo. So if kunento engakufaka kuyo ngakufaka ntwana zwakala kune 5 minutes dlala yabo. If kune club engathi icede ukuvulwa isibali the spots there uva yodlala and expose yourself. But mawupopile ka upopile because we are all here ngoba sifuna ukupop.
Yeah.
We don't want to be struggling comedians. Being a struggling comedian is hard.
Yeah.
But when you reach the next level, don't forget vela we are con. But now it's in Zemnandi.
Yeah.
So that maso mnandi zokwazi ukukhuphula amajita.
Yeah.
Because khuphuka kanjani sisasokola.
Yeah, it makes no sense at
It's
that
crab
moment.
mentality, crabs in the bucket mentality. Kuthi lo macala athi sesiyamdonsa ayibuya. No, ngiyabuya. And mangibuya siyalichitha le bucket. Siyangena ke sonke.
Yeah.
Because comedy asekazi man, I really want us to have comedy ekasi every week. Every week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Could be a comedy cast. Even if it's 6, 8, 10 people, it's fine. You play those 5 times, you build that skill, you build that joke. Masohambu uyalela kumele uyekhona, mawufika uyadlala so mnandi. But now you have to wait for 1 or 2 in a month, so it's just 2 in a month. Then mawufika le, those people who are doing comedy every day, you can see nyasalela manje. You need to catch up.
Yeah.
But if we can't vusa nje, one of the thing as a tavern was very painful. When it closed, because tavern was like a home for Soweto comedy.
Yeah.
Besides, with my Komaya Tuesday, you'll get a sport, you'll play. After playing 10 o'clock, you're ambiently.
Yeah.
Whether you died, whether you killed, it's okay.
Yeah.
But with next week, I can make, corrections.
Yeah.
But now you have to wait for the one show a month. You have to wait for the other show. Mhlambe enye se road report. It's may like us. And also, call it lapeng. There's a thing comedy on the 31st.
Yeah.
On the 31st, there's comedy in Tlapeng. So it's good to see such things happening. Okay, comedy as people are starting to see it, and it's there, and
becoming interested in
yeah,
it.
Yeah. So come, guys. We know we need you to come to the comedy show. Because supporting comedy is supporting comics.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Oh, yeah. You. So, one thing that I also wanted to ask, when it comes to, like, as we had Osvaldo, how important do you think it is for comedians to also be very cautious and mindful of their mental health because of what unfortunately happened with Ebenezer? I think for a lot of people, it has opened the fact that as much as comedians go out there and make you laugh, they are still human beings who still go through a lot of things. And it's unfortunate for us that when they have problems, because you're used to like throwing a bit of jokes here and there, even when you discuss your problems, always have like a punchline and we don't necessarily read in between the lines. How important is it for comedians to consider their mental health and awareness and make sure that they are okay mentally so they can prosper in their field?
It's sad, man. It's sad. And Eb was one of the guys who would ask you, how are you? Then you say, I'm fine. Then you say, no, bruh, like, how are you? He would ask you, because that's how we remember him. He would ask you, like, really, bro, how are you? You have to go deep and find out. As much as I'm saying I'm fine, Uncle Grand, I didn't get paid, or I don't have gas, or I don't have this, I don't have this, because we all go through that. But we are here because we are chasing this dream of comedy. And nobody really takes you seriously because you're always the one making jokes. You're always the one making people laugh. Then people start laughing. But now you're going through whatever you're going through. So as comics, we also need to have that brotherhood. But no, how are you, bruh? Then you born with big beans and 9 tin fish, pandisingwa. At least now when something. So we really, really need that brotherhood in comedy, especially comedy as a cast.
Definitely. That is very nice to hear. But I can see, man, they want Archer. Me too. I want Archer. So, like, what flavors do you have? Garlic?
I have garlic. I have chili. And then kona le makwala.
You're playing.
Hey, play makwala. We do mild.
Mild, yeah. Then corner leana again. Yeah, because this one is too much. This one is too much. Le abantu besavana again. On a Monday, we did him Spanish.
Yeah. 450 lena le 30 something yabona ukuthi abantu bakhona ukubona kahle mana iacha ngathi uzoshiyana amanamba akho bazokufuna ukuthi ebot deliver iacha
sifuna ama-archer. But before we close, man, I just want to ask you this question, ukuthi so far in the industry, what is the best lesson you have ever got?
I've gotten good advices from like other comics, because there are comedians who would see you on stage and they can see you are struggling. And then Maupuma, then they would call you. That joke is funny, that is gold, but try this, try that. I got advice from a guy. One time he said to me, don't ask them if you're funny. Tell them. That guy is a beast on stage. Q Dube just jumps on and just kills. And he said, don't ask them. Jump on and tell them that you're funny. And then when you jump on again, it changes your perspective. And now you start to have that confidence, which as in, even if I die, but I will die on my sword. You feel different when you die confident. Unlike when you die and you're nervous, but you die on your sword, don't ask them, tell them. That's the best advice I've got.
Nice. So they say laughter is the best medicine. You guys make us laugh. Wena, what is your medicine?
Funny enough, laughter.
Okay.
Laughter is my medicine. When I said I'm 1 year in comedy and your face just dropped. Those reactions are actually what we comedians look for, because there's something to probe there to tell us more. So laughter, I love laughing, and I love hearing people laugh.
Yeah, yeah.
Laughter is the medicine, and if comedy is the food of life, laugh on.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jagalas. It was nice having you here. But one last one. There is a young cat out there who is thinking, I nyababona bo Jagalas, but now I don't have the confidence, the self-esteem to go through and make those jokes, in front of people. What advice do you have for them?
Unfortunately, you have to jump on. You have to jump on. The only way you can build your confidence is on a stage.
Yeah.
But luckily, if maybe you can get a stage with 6 people, 10 people, that's where you start to build your confidence. So that when you reach 20, 50, 60, 90, 100, 350 people, because when you jump on a stage and it's a lot of people, it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you need to build it from 8, 10, 20. But you need to jump on at least 3 times a week just to build that muscle. 3 times a week just to build that muscle. And then who knows? It could be the next Trevor Noah.
Yeah. What age do you think is the right age to start being a comedian?
Now.
Maripotso what age is when?
Now.
4 years.
Today years old. Today years old.
Yeah, if you think about it, start just on it.
Just start.
Yeah.
There's comedy every day, Monday to Friday. Just find out, follow your comedians, and then just go, man.
Okay.
Do your 5 minutes, ask for a spot, try.
Yeah. All right. I have last 2 fun questions right here with me. So the first one is, what's the craziest thing a fan has ever done to get your attention?
They did not throw things at stage. It's heckling.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I remember one time I made a fat joke.
Okay.
And then there was a Usiso Kona on the stage.
Yeah.
And then she was, it was like Nglanzayen. And after the show, she came to the Maralento Yenza, right? And yeah, that's the one thing that I remember just now. Yeah, on stage. That's what is interesting to get my attention. But of throwing things, nah, we don't do that. But I've seen people throw money. I've seen people throw money.
Really?
Not at me though. But I've seen them throw money at Maboning one time. Yeah.
Wow.
That guy was balling, bro.
Yeah.
He threw like 3,000 rand on stage.
Wait, which place in Maboning?
At Monaco. Monaco.
Monaco does comedy.
On Wednesdays.
I didn't know Monaco. Usually, like these are places that I've been to, but I don't even know that they do comedy.
On Wednesdays.
If you said Pata, then I would believe you. But Monaco
does comedy on Wednesdays.
But did you wish it was you on stage?
Mfan. 3 blocks, tabang.
Just like that. Baba mfethu uyalahisa.
Fuck is coming out.
Nice. So, if you could switch lives with any other comedian for a day, who would it be?
I'd say Pop-Pops.
Pop-Pops. Oh,
I'd say
wonderful,
Pop-Pops.
wonderful.
Marlene and Matlama Ruby. Sika switcha lena vele.
Yo.
I hope he sees this.
Yeah. The reaction, my sister. Something is coming for you.
And then I'm getting him Peggy
Right on the spot. Right on the spot. So the last one. What's the most ridiculous thing you've ever lied about on stage?
We lie all the time. We lie all the time.
But we want the most ridiculous one.
Yo, we lie all the time, bro. Yo. Because you can't tell. It said can't be all true.
Yo.
Sometimes Mfagi Spice. Melu Fagi Spice, those are the punchlines. Melu Fagi Spice.
Hey, ngiyabona wena ngathi lahle ispace actually sesetakini.
Faggy Spice. Yeah, man, thank you so much for being here with us. So then the last one that we would do here is if people want to get hold of you, book you, and to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
It's Theo the Peggy _Jagalas on all socials.
Yeah.
For bookings, you can DM.
For your Archer.
For Archer, you can DM also.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can DM also. Can deliver for you. I have my charger, my key holder. Zonke's corner. Zape Putin. So bang busy Pakistan. Pakistan on wheels. So you can do corner motwen. So if you want to come see. And then then I'll deliver for you. Yeah, man. Certain Sama radio. hey kuningi
hey like hey
one stop shop kahle kahle
nama radio
ngemuva kunayituli isitoko
ubonile phela ukuthi nje uze ngemoto engako hamba uyi1
uthengisa umsakazo
kahle kahle. So yeah man, thank you for watching guys, and like, subscribe, share. You know, let's make this podcast to grow.
Yeah.
Because I see it's this Wednesdays are my favorites.
Yeah,
you know, because there's comedy on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And so yeah. So if my chance can come also and just showcase their talent and just gig guides, you know, I'll send you the gig guides so that people can know where to follow their favorite comedians.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, let's support comedy.
Yeah, thank you so much, man, for blessing us with your presence right here.
Nina.
Danko. That was Uchagalasi, the Peggy.
Yo, wena nosinabitho isokhula.
That's what we do right here on the Vooka Breakfast Show. Thank you so much for being with us. It does not only stay here, guys. Every weekday from 7 a.m. up until 10 a.m., we will have you bringing you all the best content to unpack. Today, it was all about Comedy Wednesday and Mind Basket. We had Osvaldo. If you want to go back also and look at the interview that speak about the importance of, dissecting and processing mental health, that is the interview that you need to watch. My name is Mwiketi Maimane, and this was your one and only epic morning show, which is the Vooka Breakfast Show. See you tomorrow. My name is Mwiketi Maimane, aka Max for maximum temperature, the son of Mother Nature. Yes,
and from me, your girl, Afri Berry, also known as Miss Berry Blade, the darker the berry, the sweeter than Tuntun. Imnamdin mamyama, mam hlopilek tekateken but marloko famana mawetayo komakahle. Isho wana mane.
Sayonara.
Friends, come along with the Vooka team as time is spent
at the Vision Board and Pizza event out at Curiosity in Maboning.
Aimed at promoting positivity, creativity that breeds longevity.
Enjoy tasks like silent reading,
vision boarding, and live performances.
Vooka Breakfast Show brings you all things great and amazing with Sacred Sundays
in collaboration with Mwari Pizza for Vision Board and Pizza.